Chapter 538. Although Jiang Wan'er was small, her pair of small fists were strong and vigorous. In the dense drumbeats, she jumped up and down like an agile monkey. It only took her 3 minutes to put several members of the defense team on the ground. Don't come over. Gu Jinhao was dumbfounded. When he saw Jiang Wan'er approaching, he was so scared that his face turned pale. He trembled and staggered back. A 5-foot-tall man was scared out of his wits by a little girl. And the scene made everyone laugh again. Okay, I won't go over. Take it. Jiang Wan'er casually grabbed a wine bottle and threw it over. Bang! The wine bottle broke on Gu Jinhao's forehead, and the wine and glass pieces splashed everywhere. Gu Jinhao fell to the ground on his back. His female companion was still frantically calling for help. Master Hu, it's not good. Brother Hao was beaten up. Come over and help. You're still calling for help? That's all you can do. Jiang Wan'er rushed over, grabbed her hair, and pulled it down abruptly. Fuck, let go of me. The girl screamed, and a strand of hair fell off her scalp. She could not help but bend over in pain. Jiang Wan'er jumped up, and a fierce knee hit the girl's face. The girl's nose collapsed immediately. She fell to the ground with blood gushing out of her nose, and cried loudly. Good. Awesome. Nice fight. Her movements are clean and neat. She must have been taught by a famous master. She can be on the New Year's gala. The surrounding diners spontaneously applauded, and the cheers were so loud that it almost overturned the roof. They saw the whole process of Gu Jinhao bullying others, and the defense team members distorting the truth, and they hated it. Seeing Jiang Wan'er turn the tables, they were overjoyed. The key was that Jiang Wan'er's fight was really beautiful. It was both enjoyable and practical. It was like an action movie. It stinks. Wah. You'll change my clothes. Wah wah wah. You'll change my clothes. But Jiang Wan'er was not happy at all. She wrinkled her nose and smelled the stench on her body. Wah. She burst into tears again. She was so angry that she hit Gu Jinhao's stomach with her fists. Clang. Clang. He kicked nonstop. Now Gu Jinhao's nose bridge had also collapsed. Call the police. Help me call the police. Gu Jinhao kept vomiting, and the stinky vomit mixed with blood flowed all over his body. His teeth fell out, and the corners of his mouth cracked. He cried and begged, asking people to call the police, but no one paid any attention to him. Help, someone help me. Gu Jinhao's weak and miserable voice echoed in the restaurant. Brother Hao, who had traveled extensively for half of his life, was the second manager of the Crown Prince Hotel's branch on Junwang Road, and was also a tyrant in Chaoyang District, was actually beaten up like this by a 7-year-old child. This was too sullen. He called out to the heavens, but to no avail. He actually began to wail. There was no need to mention how sad he was, as if he had been wronged like a child. Stop fighting. Is there an end to this? In the end, it was Jiang Tian who pulled Jiang Wan'er over. If they continued to beat him, he would definitely die. At this time, a customer sitting next to him kindly advised him, Don't worry. Little brother, quit while you're ahead. Hurry up and leave. He's Zhang Huchen's man. You can't afford to offend him. Yeah, Zhang Huchen is a tyrant in Yanjin because of his uncle's prestige. You can't afford to offend him. Yeah, I heard that even the Han family was defeated by the Zhang family recently. Zhang Huchen is even more powerful now. Everyone was shocked when they thought of this, and then they hurriedly advised him. While they were talking, a few of Gu Jinhao's reinforcements arrived. They were all dressed in luxurious clothes and looked quite powerful. Fuck, he's beaten up like this? Who is it? That's too damn arrogant. Call Brother Huchen over. When they saw Gu Jinhao's appearance, they immediately flew into a rage. Zhang Huchen of the Crown Prince Hotel? Lu Yiting was also shocked when she heard that. She quickly pulled Jiang Tian's hand and said, Jiang Tian, let's go. Although she had not been in Yanjin for long, she had heard about Zhang Huchen's hot temper and ability. Even though he was not considered a first-rate rich kid in Yanjin, he was not someone that Jiang Tian, a second-generation rich kid from another city, could compare to. When they saw Lu Yiting, one of the rich kids walked over and said with a half-smile, Yiting, did your friend cause trouble? Young Master Long. It's just a misunderstanding. Can you help me talk to young Master Huchen? Lu Yiting quickly stood up and pleaded. This so-called young Master Long was called Long Yu. He was the son of the district's Bureau of Industry and Commerce. Lu Yiting had visited the Long family and invited them to dinner several times. Long Yu moved closer to Lu Yiting, and the two of them whispered for a while. In the end, Long Yu rolled his eyes and said something in a low voice. Lu Yiting was shocked when she heard that. She quickly shook her head and took a step back. Long Yu wrinkled his nose and said proudly, "If that's what you said, then I can't do anything about it. Your friend will be taught a lesson and have his legs broken. That's Zhang Huchen we're talking about. Who would dare to offend Zhang Zhonggua's nephew?" As for Jiang Tian, he didn't even glance at him. He had heard from Lu Yiting that he was the young master of the Medicine King group in Jinlin. What use was that? He was just a country bumpkin. There were too many rich and powerful people in Yanjin. He was nothing compared to the Zhang family. Who does Zhang Huchen think he is? How dare he act rashly in front of me? Take Wan to the bathroom to wash up. Jiang Tian smiled faintly, his eyes filled with contempt. Kid, you're too arrogant. Watch your mouth. Yu Long's face turned cold when he heard that. His slightly widened eyes were filled with killing intent. Lu Yiting was also taken aback. She whispered to Jiang Tian, a wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. You go first. I'll take care of this. At this moment, surrounded by a few companions, Zhang Huchen walked over arrogantly with a gloomy face and the smell of alcohol coming from his mouth. Young Master Zhang. Boss Zhang. When the group of waiters saw him coming over, they all took a few steps back and shouted in a hushed voice. Young Master Zhang. Young Master who? Yu Long's companions and friends, as well as the customers in the restaurant who didn't know him, all stood up to greet him. Zhang Huchen ignored them and didn't even bother to nod. He had been frustrated lately since the situation in his family had changed. He used to be a big shot in the Zhang family. He managed a few hotels and entertainment clubs, and was living a good life in Yanjin. However, Jiang Tian had come to Yanjin and was not leaving. His parents had asked him not to stir up trouble outside, in case Jiang Tian heard about it and punished him. Yes, in Zhang Huchen's eyes, Jiang Tian was like an old demon god that was pressing down on their heads. He was able to defeat the Bai family and suppress the 6 major martial arts families. If he wasn't a demon god, what else could he be? Zhang Huchen couldn't help but tremble every time he thought about how Jiang Tian could withstand a bullet, how Fat Fu had to kneel down when he saw Jiang Tian, and how even Han Junkai of the Han family was beaten up by Jiang Tian. But Jiang Tian was still safe and sound. I beat up such a demon god when I was a kid and called him a son of a bitch. Oh God. Zhang Huchen's hand that had beaten up Jiang Tian 10 years ago couldn't help but tremble as if he had Parkinson's disease. He couldn't even hold his chopsticks steadily. It had become a psychological shadow for him for the rest of his life. It was an endless nightmare, and he couldn't sleep at night whenever he thought about it. Kid, did you just call me names? Fuck, I'll break your legs, you. Jiang Tian. Zhang Huchen rushed over from behind Jiang Tian, slammed the table and shouted loudly. However, the moment he saw Jiang Tian, he was so scared that his body trembled, and he stood there like a wooden statue. Don't be angry, Mr. Hu. My friend just came to Yanjin and hasn't heard of you yet. It's just a misunderstanding. I'll pay for the medical expenses. I'll take full responsibility. Lu Yiting hurried to persuade Jiang Tian with a smile. As she spoke, she winked at Jiang Tian and said, Jiang Tian, this is Zhang Huchen from the Crown Prince Hotel. His father is Zhang Zhonggua, the 3rd most powerful man in Yanjin. Jiang Tian smiled and said, Huchen, is this how Zhang Zhonggua taught you? Long Yu was enraged. He pointed at Jiang Tian's nose and scolded. Who do you think you are? How dare you call Secretary Zhang Zhonggua by his full name? Don't you know the rules? Gu Jinhao was also full of vigor. He pointed at Jiang Tian and scolded. Kid, how dare you talk nonsense? This is Mr. Hu. He will kill you in minutes. Slap. A crisp slap landed on Long Yu's face, and he was sent rolling 3 meters away. Long Yu's face was flushed red. He looked at Zhang Huchen in disbelief and said, Mr. Hu, motherfucker, I've long found you guys an eyesore. You've been using my name to bully people every day. Have you ruined my reputation? Do you want to die? Zhang Huchen let out a thunderous roar and kicked Gu Jinhao to the ground again. Everyone was stunned. Zhang Huchen hit Long Yu and Gu Jinhao? How was that possible? They were Zhang Huchen's loyal followers. Besides, wasn't it Zhang Huchen's style to bully people? Did he like it that much? Under everyone's incredulous gazes, Zhang Huchen was like a loyal dog that had seen its master. He ran to Jiang Tian, nodded and bowed with a face full of fear and pity, and stammered. Jiang, brother Tian, I was wrong. Please forgive me this time. You made Mr. Hu apologize? Who is he? I've never seen him before. Could he be the illegitimate son of some big shot in the sea? Yu Long and the rest were stunned when they saw this scene. They were so scared that their souls almost left their bodies. Who was Zhang Huchen? He was Zhang Zhongguo's nephew. Although he wasn't one of the top young masters in Beijing, he was still a powerful figure. There were only a dozen or so top nobles in Beijing who could suppress him. But now he was apologizing to this country bumpkin, and he even looked scared. Oh my God! We're doomed. We're doomed today. We've offended a big shot. Gu Jinhao and his female companion were so scared that their bodies were trembling like sieves. The way they looked at Jiang Tian had completely changed. They had thought that Chen Fan was a pushover, but they didn't expect him to be so powerful that even Mr. Hu had to give in. Chapter 539. Seeing this scene, Lu Yiting's pupils constricted as she looked at Jiang Tian, and her heart was filled with suspicion. Could it be that Jiang Tian had some connections in Yanjin? Zhang Huchen was an arrogant young master of Yanjin, and he valued his reputation the most. Asking him to bow his head was worse than killing him. If it wasn't for Jiang Tian having the ability to suppress him, how could he have lowered his head in front of so many people? You're fooling around with these scoundrels every day? Can't you grow up a little bit? Jiang Tian said faintly. If Zhang Jinghua was here, I wouldn't care about you. But now that fourth uncle is in charge, don't cause trouble for him. Otherwise, get the hell out of Wuxia. Go to Africa for a few days. Yes, I won't do it again. I will definitely teach them a lesson, reflect on my mistakes, and completely correct them. Zhang Huchen was so scared that he shivered and nodded like a chicken pecking rice. Let's go. Don't cry, I don't think you're smelly. Let's find a hotel for you to take a shower and change your clothes. Jiang Tian wasn't in the mood to show off in front of these ants. He pulled Jiang Wan'er's hand and stood up. After Lu Yiting paid the bill, the three of them left under everyone's eyes that were full of fear and reverence. When they came to Gu Jinhao, Jiang Wan'er smiled coldly and said, Do you think you're from the upper class? Do you think you're noble? Grandaunt Gu Jinhao did not dare to offend her and knelt on the ground to beg for mercy. But Jiang Wan'er, who was full of sarcasm, stomped on his calf, and with a crack, his calf was instantly fractured. Little devil! The female companion was so scared that her whole body trembled like a sieve. Seeing this scene, her eyes rolled back and she fainted. Huchen, do you have to be so humble when he's just a nouveau riche from another city? Look at how badly brother Hao is beaten up. Long Yu was a little dissatisfied. Slap. What he got in response was a crisp slap. Zhang Huchen cursed angrily. Damn it, I'm going to die because of you. Do you know who he is? How dare you act so rashly? Both of you, get out of Beijing right now. The group of people exploded in anger, scared silly by Zhang Huchen. Gu Jinhao's face was full of despair, and he was full of regret. A murder case caused by a Western meal. Beautiful as Heaven's headquarters and the largest physical store were not far from the pedestrian street of the royal prince's mansion. After arriving there, Jiang Wan'er took a bath and changed into a new set of clothes. Lu Yiting then asked her subordinates to buy a full set of fruit products for her. Only then did the little girl stop crying and smile. Lu Yiting dragged Jiang Tian to the living room to drink tea. Jiang Tian smiled and said, You're making it look good. Compared to you, I'm not a small fry. Lu Yiting smiled and asked, Jiang Tian, you're related to the Zhang family? You didn't mention it when we were in college. You seem to be a relative, but why is Zhang Huchen so afraid of you? Well, Zhang Jinghua is my uncle. Zhang Zhongguo is my uncle. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, but we didn't have a good relationship before. As for why he's so afraid of me, maybe he's afraid of being punished by the Zhang family. Haha, Jiang Tian, do you think I'm a fool? Lu Yiting looked at Jiang Tian with interest and said, Zhang Huchen has been arrogant and domineering for a long time. If he was afraid of being punished by his family, he wouldn't have acted so recklessly. Jiang Tian, tell me, what's your trump card? In any case, you're a big boss with a company worth billions. Why are you still as curious as a baby? Are you curious about the rainbow cat and blue rabbit? Jiang Tian smiled helplessly and said, it's not good for you to know too many secrets. But don't worry, if you need any help in Beijing, just tell me. I've said that I'll keep you safe for the rest of your life. Okay, I won't ask anymore. Lu Yiting felt a warm current in her heart and said emotionally, Jiang Tian, I don't know why you're so good to me, but thank you. After drinking tea for a while, Lu Yiting asked again, Qing'er is also in Beijing, right? You two should have a good relationship. That's right. We're very happy. Jiang Tian sipped his tea and said with a satisfied smile, husband and wife, together in the same boat. I'm so envious. Lu Yiting sighed from the bottom of her heart. She didn't know if she was envious of Qing'er or Jiang Tian. What's wrong? You don't get along well with your husband? Jiang Tian's face flashed with a hint of surprise. He knew that Lu Yiting was married, but he had never met her husband. Don't mention it. We divorced 2 years ago. Lu Yiting's eyes flashed with a hint of sadness and smiled. Let's not talk about these unhappy things. By the way, our classmates from Rinda College are having a small social gathering in Yanjin. Why don't you come? Forget it. You know that I don't like crowds. Jiang Tian shook his head gently. Chen Longsheng is back in Yanjin. After Lu Yiting said this, Li Yinhong nodded. Jiang Tian's heart skipped a beat and he said, what? He's back? He's going to the gathering? If the Renda Academy was said to be a gold-plated third-rate school in the past, there were still 1 or 2 monsters in it. Lu Yiting was one and Chen Longsheng was the other. Chen Longsheng was Jiang Tian's roommate when they were in university. They got along well with Jiang Tian, and he was very good at his studies. Furthermore, his interest wasn't in pharmacy but economics. He could read the original English theses in his freshman year, and was familiar with all kinds of data and academic terms. When he was in his 3rd year, he published a few important papers in the top economics journals. Several old professors in the School of Economics at Jinling University were shocked and often asked him questions in the name of eating and drinking tea. In his previous life, Chen Longsheng suddenly passed the IELTS exam the year Jiang Tian broke off his engagement and left Jinling to study at London Business School. Before Jiang Tian committed suicide, he was still pursuing his studies. However, this person was very low-key and his background was very mysterious. Jiang Tian only knew that he vaguely knew that he was from Yanjin, and that his family was quite powerful. As for what he did, Jiang Tian didn't know. Yes. Lu Yiting nodded and said, I heard that he just graduated from London Business School, and is now a researcher in the Policy Research Institute of the Government Affairs Council. That's good. Remember to call me when you have a class reunion. Jiang Tian looked at the time and got up to leave. When he returned to Yuhua Villa, Jiang Tian saw a guest that surprised him a little, Special Envoy Shen. Beside him was Chen Zifen and Shen Mange. There was also an old man in military uniform who was at the peak of transcendent state. Master Kong, you are finally back. Special Envoy Shen was wearing a woolen Chinese tunic suit. He stood up to greet Jiang Tian and warmly shook hands with him. Special Envoy Shen, I have been so busy these days that I haven't thanked you for your help. Please forgive me. Jiang Tian had a good impression of Special Envoy Shen. In Singapore, Special Envoy Shen had helped him suppress the Yichida family. Some time ago, he was able to obtain Yuhua Villa and the Bai family's worldly assets without Special Envoy Shen's help. As long as you are comfortable living here, the chief said that you are a national treasure. You deserve to have Yuhua Villa in your hands. Special Envoy Shen laughed and pointed at the old man with his right hand. Allow me to introduce you. This is Yuan Lei, the leader of the Red Wall Internal Guards. Yuan Lei respectfully cupped his fists and bowed. His expression was slightly stern as he said, Greetings, Master Kong. I am Yuan Lei. I've long heard of Grandmaster Jiang's great name. Now that I've met you today, you're indeed handsome and have an extraordinary bearing. He was in his 60s and was the leader of the internal guards of the Red Wall Internal Guards. As a favorite of the chief, he was highly valued by the chief. His status was even higher than Special Envoy Shun's. However, in terms of martial arts, strength and reputation were the most important things. Compared to Jiang Tian, there was still a big gap between him and Jiang Tian. Don't mention it, old man Yuan. Jiang Tian looked at him from head to toe and said calmly, Mr. Yuan, you don't seem to be in good health. Master Kong, you are indeed a master of both martial arts and medicine. You have sharp eyes and amazing talents. Yuan Lei was overjoyed. He bowed again and said, to be honest, 30 years ago, when this old man was traveling the Jianghu, he was injured by an enemy. Since then, I have been suffering from old wounds. But when there is a full moon, especially at midnight, you will feel cold all over and have a bloodthirsty urge. Jiang Tian knew that he was being vague and was testing him, so he smiled faintly and said word by word, you were injured by the blood breeds. Master Kong, please save me. You have killed the blood breeds before. You must have a way to cure me, right? Hearing this, Yuan Lei was extremely shocked. Jiang Tian's words hit the nail on the head. Yuan Lei was full of expectations. Jiang Tian should have a way to cure him. Please rise, Leader Yuan. Jiang Tian helped him up, took out a bottle of pills, and said, this is a blood-dissolving qi-fusing pill. It can refine thousands of different types of qi. Consume it and circulate your cultivation technique to refine it. You should be fully recovered within an hour. It can be cured? It can really be cured. Thank you, Master Kong, for giving me this pill. Yuan Lei's face was filled with ecstasy. He immediately took the bottle and was led to a guest room by Shen Mange, swallowing and refining it. Come, Special Envoy Shen, have a seat. Jiang Tian asked Special Envoy Shen and Shen Mange to sit in the living room. They chatted while drinking tea. Special Envoy Shen took a sip of tea and said with a smile, Hee, please forgive me, Grandmaster Jiang. I was being rude. We have worked together for more than 20 years, and our relationship is pretty good. I can't bear to see old Yuan in pain. Don't worry about it. It's just a small matter. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Special Envoy Shen's face turned solemn as he said, Grandmaster Jiang, the Bai family has been defeated by you. The higher-ups can turn a blind eye to a fight between martial artists. However, Han Juancai's death has caused quite a stir in Yanjin. To tell you the truth, the political and business families in the secular world are not peaceful. Not peaceful? Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Yes. The Bai family and the other 6 major martial arts families in Yanjin still abided by the martial arts convention. They didn't dare to suppress the political and business families. Special Envoy Shen shook his head helplessly. Now that you've killed Han Juancai, there are rumors going around that the adjudicator's appearance was Elder Chao's doing. Both Chao Shixiang and the chief are under a lot of pressure. Yanjin is the most virtuous city in the world. You should restrain yourself and not make things difficult for the chiefs. Chapter 540. Jiang Tian smiled. Han Juancai tried to kill me with a gun, and I didn't leave any evidence behind when I killed him. That's reasonable, isn't it? Yes, that's a good thing, and the Han family has no intention of pursuing the matter. Special Envoy Shen nodded with a smile. It's just that the Lu family and the Song family have a bigger reaction. They are the first and third-ranked families. Other than that, there are a few other families in the top 10 who have expressed their objections. Each of them controls several industries that are related to the economic lifeline of Wuxia. They can shake Wuxia with a stomp of their feet. Now that the Lu family and the Song family have a marriage alliance, their power has increased. Master Kong, it's best that you don't provoke them. Hold on. Jiang Tian waved his hand. Special Envoy Shen, you're a favorite of the chief. Isn't the Shen family in the top 5 families? Master Kong, you think too highly of me. Special Envoy Shen smiled awkwardly. To put it bluntly, I'm just a high-ranking secretary. The Shen family is only in the top 20. As for the top 5, that's out of my reach. If I'm in the top 5, Will I still be in this position? Then I'll be a regional governor. Beside him, Chen Zifan smiled. Master Kong, the third-ranked Xia family and the fourth-ranked Ge family have contacted me before, wanting to meet Master Kong and preparing to hold the adjudicator ceremony, but you rejected them. The Han family offended Master Kong because they didn't know Master Kang's true colors. It's just a misunderstanding. However, the Song family and the Lu family have never shown any respect to Master Kong. Also, I learned that Yi Cheetah's grandson Yi Haochen, who offended you in Singapore, has been in and out of the Lu family and the Song family recently, contacting many rich people and high-ranking officials, including the richest man, Su Tianyan. I suspect that they are plotting something. Su Tianyan? He hasn't fallen yet? Jiang Tian asked with a frown. It seems that the Lu family and the Song family are protecting him, so it's inconvenient for Qin Zhong to attack him. Chen Zifan said hesitantly. Towards Yi Haochen and Su Tianyan, Jiang Tian did not put them in his heart. They were just a bunch of ants, wanting to contend against him. They were simply blockheads. The Song family, is it the family that Song Shuangyan belongs to? Jiang Tian asked with a faint smile. You know Song Shuangyan? Special Envoy Shen was slightly surprised. Back then, Song Shuangyan was engaged to Master Kong. It should be said that she cheated Master Kong of some cultivation materials. Shen Mange had heard about it, and explained in a low voice. The Xia clan, the Ge clan, and the Han clan have already made their stand. Do the Song clan and the Lu clan still have some backing that they can stand against me? Jiang Tian sighed and said meaningfully, it seems that I should pay a visit to the Song clan's patriarch in person. Special Envoy Shen was suddenly shocked. After pondering for a long time, he finally said with difficulty, Master Kong, I can mediate, but it's better not to do it. Special Envoy Shen, I'm afraid that your mediation is useless. I'll handle this matter myself. Jiang Tian said lightly. What the Song clan wanted was the incomplete map of the ruins of immortality. Not to mention Special Envoy Shen's mediation. The Song clan would not obediently hand it over even if the God of Heaven appeared. If he went, he would alert the enemy and let them be prepared. Since you said so, I won't force you. However, Master Kong, you'd better restrain yourself. You have to be reasonable. Special Envoy Shen said helplessly with a wry smile. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Jiang Tian said lightly. Good. Master Kong, let me toast you with tea instead of wine. Special Envoy Shen's face was full of joy as he held the cup. The two of them had just taken a sip of tea. Yuan Lei walked out excitedly and said happily, I'm fine. Yuan Tuan, it can't be that fast, right? Do you want to check again? One of his disciples asked with a frown. No, there's no need. I know that I'm definitely fine. There's no need to check at all. Yuan Lei waved his hand and said excitedly, Grandmaster Zhang's medicinal pellet has already refined that ball of yin qi and even strengthened my cultivation. As he said that, he knelt down in front of Jiang Tian and said, Thank you, Master Kong, for saving my life. This is like giving me a new life. If it weren't for you, I might have become a monster that's neither human nor ghost. Brother Yuan, there's no need to be so courteous. Jiang Tian helped him up and said with a smile, You were injured for the country. As your brother, I admire you very much. How can I just stand by and watch? Master Kong, if anyone dares to offend you in Yanjing, just look for me. After all, you can't reveal your identity casually. I still have some power in Yanjing. Yuan Lei was both impressed and impressed by Jiang Tian. He patted his chest and said passionately, If Jiang Tian's monstrous power of killing 11 gods and destroying the Bai family was enough to make him fearful, but now, Jiang Tian's medical skills that could bring the dead back to life made him even more reliant on him. Martial artists like to make friends with miracle doctors the most. Looking at his generosity, Jiang Tian also liked it very much. He nodded and said with a smile, All right, then I'll have to trouble you more in the future. It's my pleasure. Yuan Lei held Jiang Tian's big hand tightly. He had already regarded Jiang Tian as a friend. Jiang Tian gave him a few more pills to stabilize the effect. Yuan Lei then left with Special Envoy Shen, and the rest gratefully. The next afternoon, Jiang Tian was meditating and cultivating when he suddenly received a call from Lu Yuting. Jiang Tian, there's a class reunion tonight. Your roommate, Chen Longsheng, will also be there. Do you have time to attend? Yeah, I'll be there. Jiang Tian nodded. He still missed this roommate of his. Jiang Tian, my shop has just opened. Although you came yesterday, it wasn't open yet. Why don't you come over and give me some guidance? Lu Yiting invited. I don't know how to do business. What's there to look at? Jiang Tian smiled. But you know how to make medicine. Although you gave me the prescription, I made the process myself. If I don't do it well, won't I ruin your reputation? Lu Yiting spared no effort in inviting him. Alright, I'll go take a look. Jiang Tian couldn't refuse. Since Zhang Yilin was playing in the villa, Jiang Tian asked her to drive him to the main store of Beautiful Heaven. Jun Wangfu Road Pedestrian Street, Beautiful Heaven Product Experience Store. The store wasn't small. It had 3 floors and was decorated magnificently. The soft interior walls were wrapped in African mahogany with exquisite carvings. Palace lanterns hung from the ceiling. It was full of classical atmosphere. The floor was covered with imitation Persian carpet. It was divided into the beauty area, the body area, and the yoga studio. The highlight was the exhibition area. Jiang Tian walked in and saw a basket of flowers at the door. It should have just opened. However, there were a lot of customers. They were all driving BMWs and Mercedes-Benz. They were dressed luxuriously and had exquisite makeup. It was obvious that they were either rich or noble ladies. What do you think of it? Since Jiang Tian came, Lu Yiting naturally received him personally. She took out the product and showed it to Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian unscrewed the bottle cap and sniffed it gently. He said lightly, "Increase the amount of roseroot by 20%. What are you waiting for? Have you memorized it?" Lu Yiting glanced at her female assistant, who was dumbfounded. The female assistant hurriedly noted it down and looked at Jiang Tian inquisitively with her sparkling eyes. Director Lu, this Mr. Jiang is so amazing. He can improve the prescription with just a sniff? Other professors and researchers couldn't improve it even after years of research. How can those professors and experts be compared to divine physician Jiang? Lu Yiting glared at her and smiled. Mr. Jiang is the young master of the Medicine King Corporation. He's the one who defeated TKM's Pu Zhengtai in July and stopped TKM's application. Oh my god! He's actually divine physician Jiang? I'm your loyal fan. Can you give me an autograph? The female assistant's eyes widened in admiration. Not only was his medical skills amazing, he was also so handsome and rich. He was simply the perfect idol. Why do I need an autograph? I'm not a celebrity. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and gave a few more details of improvement. Finally, Jiang Tian wrote a prescription for Lu Yiting to replenish her qi and blood, hair growth and hair care, forming a series of products. TSK. Jiang Tian, you're amazing. I remember that you were quite bad at your studies in university. Suddenly, a burst of laughter came from the crowd. A girl walked over with a Louis Vuitton handbag. The girl was dressed in a neutral outfit with short hair like a boy. There were a few strands of hair in the middle that were dyed wine red. She looked very much like the popular Brother Chun of 2009 and 2010. She opened her flat and bony chest and hugged Jiang Tian passionately. Jin Gich, spare me. Jiang Tian, who had killed many people, and even the origin of the Japanese sword god palace, could only take a few steps back and wave his hand awkwardly when he saw his old classmate. Gich, don't be like this. Lu Yiting pouted. What's wrong? You can't bear to part with him? You liked Jiang Tian when you were in university. Now that you're divorced, aren't you going to hook up with him? Jin Gich gossiped. How am I reluctant? Lu Yiting's pretty face blushed, and her beautiful eyes glanced at Jiang Tian with a flirtatious look. If you're not willing, then I won't hold back. Jin Gich pinched Jiang Tian's face valiantly and said with a grin. Little guy, you're getting more and more handsome. You're not greasy at all. Be careful that I don't go berserk one day and take your head. The assistant and a few other employees around couldn't help but chuckle after a short silence. It's too late. I'm already married. Jiang Tian rubbed his nose helplessly. Jean Gage was indeed the big sister of Yanjing No. 4 High School. She was tough and straightforward. Jean Gage's name was Jean Lingtian. The Manchu's surname represented another well-known surname, Isenjaro. The surname was Isenjaro Lingtian. In the 300 years of history of the Manchu dynasty, Nurhasai's descendants wore yellow belts. Bright yellow was the color of the emperor, while the royal family wore golden yellow. That was how the surname came about. Back then, Jean Gage was a domineering figure in Yanjing. When her father was transferred to Jinling, he had no choice but to bring her along to apply for Jinling Pharmaceutical University. This girl loved extreme sports like racing, boxing, rock climbing, and parkour. She often followed Jiang Tian and Chen Longsheng around like a boy. No one had ever treated her as a girl. Since you're a rare guest, I won't embarrass you this time. Didn't you drink a lot in university? Let's sit at the same table and drink until one of us dies. Jean Gage patted Jiang Tian's shoulder valiantly. She had a small nose, a small mouth, and big eyes. Then her phone suddenly rang. A few of her university classmates who were developing in Beijing had arrived, helping Jiang Tian out of his predicament. Chapter 541. It's rush hour in Yanjin and the traffic is bad, so we have to leave some time for them to come to my shop. They heard that my new shop is opening and insisted on coming to have a look. Lu Yiting explained with a smile. Jiang Tian's class only had 50 or 60 students, and there were less than 10 of them in Yanjin. Soon everyone had gathered. Everyone greeted each other and talked about work, housing, and development over the years. The atmosphere was quite lively. Jiang Tian only wanted to see Chen Longsheng, and his relationship with his classmates was not that great. Thus, he sat in a corner and quietly drank tea. Chen Longsheng is here. A moment later, the crowd burst into an uproar, and everyone rose to their feet. Chen Longsheng was dressed in a suit and leather shoes. He was wearing a black windbreaker and black leather shoes as he sauntered in. Longsheng, you're a great economist. Everyone complimented him, but there was a hint of mockery in their eyes. Don't tease me, I'm just a small researcher. Chen Longsheng scanned the crowd and looked for Jiang Tian. Longsheng. Jiang Tian walked over and found that Chen Longsheng's face was thin and his eyes were dull. His body was abnormally weak. He frowned when he scanned Chen Longsheng with his divine sense. Chen Longsheng hugged Jiang Tian tightly and punched Jiang Tian's shoulder. Jiang Tian, I haven't seen you for a few years. You're getting more and more energetic. Hehe, I noticed that you don't seem to be in good spirits. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Chen Longsheng's smile froze. I've been staying up all night doing research. How can I be in good spirits? How are you? I heard that you went to Linzhou to develop your career. I'm not ambitious. I'm still the same old. I can't eat and I won't starve. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Good as long as you're safe. Chen Longsheng's eyes flashed with a hint of disappointment as he yawned. Jiang Tian was amazed. Jiang Tian didn't know about him, but Chen Longsheng knew that he was the crown prince of the Medicine King group. If he was doing economic research, there was no way he wouldn't have paid attention to the Medicine King group. Not only did he take drugs, but he also lied to others. This job must be fake too. You brat, you're quite promising. At this time, Jean Gage came over and asked jokingly, Director Chen, you're in economic research, and you're also working in the research department of the Government Affairs Council. You must have a lot of insider information. I've lost a lot of money buying stocks. You have to save me. Chen Longsheng smiled stiffly. Finally, he stammered and said, I'm in the field of macroeconomic research. How would I know anything about stocks? That belongs to the microscopic domain. Let me tell you, now that Lu Yiting is divorced, she's a single noble with assets in the billions. As long as you give me the inside information, I'll pull the strings and make Lu Yiting marry you. Jean Gage laughed. Good, don't joke around. How am I worthy of Yiting? Everyone burst into laughter. Chen Longsheng awkwardly smiled and waved his hand as a trace of sadness flashed in his eyes. At this moment, a voice sounded. If you want to get insider information, not only do you have to look at your position, but you also have to look at your connections. If you don't have a strong connection, there's a high chance that it's fake information. You'll help others raise the stock price while you fall into the trap as cannon fodder. In this world, especially in the capital market, there are a lot of under-the-table manipulations and unspoken rules. You have no power, no connections, no resources, no background. You can only wag your tail like a dog. The voice was harsh and sarcastic. A man wearing a matching coat with Lu Yiting's walked in with flowers in his hand. As he handed a bouquet of beautiful roses to Lu Yiting, he looked at Jiang Tian and Chen Longsheng, the two brothers who had fallen on hard times, with a disdainful look on his face. He did not hide his superiority at all. Jiang Tian naturally knew this person. It was Wuxia. He used to be in the same dormitory as Jiang Tian and the others, but no one liked to talk to him. This guy seemed to be from Jin province. It was said that his family was in the mining industry and was quite rich. Rinda College was originally a gold-plated school. There were many rich people, and the students were more or less foppish. But both Jiang Tian and Chen Longsheng hated this person. This guy was very smart. The first thing he did was to ask about his family's background. He liked to take advantage of the situation, flattering the strong and stepping on the weak. For those whose family background was better than his, he would fawn over them and flatter them incessantly. For those whose family background was worse than his, he would mock them every day and flaunt his superiority. Today he bought a new computer. Tomorrow he would talk about how he changed his car. In the face of that targeted mockery, Chen Longsheng's eyes dimmed. He dodged, looking a little flustered. Jiang Tian pulled him to sit beside Jean Gage. Look at this bastard's arrogant look. Let's drink and get him drunk later. Jean Gage said angrily. Jiang Tian shook his head gently. Since he returned, he had seen many ignorant second-generation heirs. Wouldn't it be tiring to step on them one by one? Why are you so scared? You weren't like this in university. Jean Gage glared at Jiang Tian and said, You don't know. Ever since Lu Yiting got divorced, he has been coming here every day. I can't chase him away. He's very cunning. He's after money. Lu Yiting is not an idiot. We're not his parents. Don't worry too much. Jiang Tian smiled. It could be seen that Lu Yiting was only being polite to Wuxia. There was a sense of politeness in her bones that kept people 1,000 miles away. If Wuxia wanted to chase Lu Yiting, he would have to wait until his next life. At this moment, another four-eyed guy walked over and smiled fawningly. Gage, it's about time. Let's go. What's the rush? Can't you see that we're having a good time? Jean Gage frowned impatiently. Yes. Talk more and relax. You're usually too busy. The four-eyed guy said fawningly. Your family's logistics company has opened in the northwestern provinces. If it continues to develop, you'll be on the Forbes list in the future. You must take care of your body. This guy was not in Jiang Tian's class. Judging from his accent, he was a Yanjing local. He should be Jean Gage's suitor. The company is not my family's. Several companies have shares in it. Jean Gage was too lazy to pay attention to this suitor. If he had not helped her book the restaurant, she would not have bothered to pay attention to him. She smiled coldly and said, Besides, it's not necessarily a good thing to be on the Forbes list. As the saying goes, a tall tree attracts the wind. Don't you know that Mogul Wang was defeated a while ago? Further away, there's Mogul Huang, who owns a chain of electrical appliances. That's called killing the Forbes list. The four-eyed guy nodded in agreement and said, Gage, you're right. However, I think that doing business is quite good. Unlike my dad, who is a director. It sounds nice, but he doesn't have much power. In Arcegio City, he can throw a brick and knock down 3 or 4 directors. But I'm also very busy. I have to accompany the director on a business trip today, and the mayor for research tomorrow. Not only do I have to suffer hardships, but I also have to be careful. My mom and I don't even dare to drive a good car. We're afraid that people will gossip. The four-eyed guy complained with pride and a sense of superiority. Jean Gage rolled her eyes. She wanted to discourage him. Wuxia, who was talking to Lu Yiting, suddenly had his eyes lit up. He asked, Bro, which department does your father work in? The deputy director of the general office of the Ministry of Land and Mineral Resources. I work in the Jinneng Group. The four-eyed guy smiled and said, My dad has several large coal mines in Jin Province and Beha Province. Let's get to know each other. My dad works for Hu Iba Boss Hu. Wang Jie was not a good-for-nothing who only knew how to show off. He was influenced by his father's teachings and knew how to build a network. I'm familiar with Boss Hu. We even had a drink together some time ago. Boss Hu is quite capable. He's very close to the Han family now. Since you work for Boss Hu, you have a bright future. Actually, the Jin Neng group is controlled by the Han family. We're in the same camp. The four-eyed guy smiled reservedly. They exchanged business cards, smoked cigarettes, and talked arrogantly. They began to be arrogant even before they sat at the table to drink. Their topics became more and more profound, from secrets to the macro control of the international situation. Their arrogance almost broke through the roof. At this time, Wang Jie stole a glance at Jiang Tian and Chen Longxing in the corner. His eyes became more and more disdainful. A drug addict who was expelled by his family, and a little rich second generation who was waiting for death. How dare he compete with me for Lu Yiting? He really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The reality was like this. The circle of people was slowly divided, and the gap between them widened. Finally, there was an insurmountable gap between the lowly and the noble. Not to mention waiting for another 10 years. Even now, you can't cross this gap in reality. Jean Gage was so angry that her teeth itched. 2 flies came to this party, and she couldn't even drink happily. She looked at the time on her watch and said, "Let's go. It's almost time." Jiang Tian, did you drive here? Take my car. Wang Jie took out his car key and pressed it. The lights of a Porsche Cayenne outside the door turned on. Take what car? The restaurant is just across the street. Are you afraid that other people don't know that you have a good car? Jean Gage directly confronted him, causing Wang Jie to smile awkwardly. Sister Ting, you have to take a look. Those people are here again. And they have been here for an hour. When everyone was about to get up and leave, Lu Yiting's female assistant hurriedly ran over and pointed at the door. Everyone was shocked to see 8 uninvited guests lying on 8 electric massage beds on both sides of the door. In the shop full of female customers, they were particularly eye-catching. The 8 men were all bald, with hideous tattoos on their necks and wrists. Their faces were fierce-looking and ferocious. Anyone with a bit of insight would be able to tell that they were Jianghu ruffians. When female customers passed by, they would tease them and take photos with their phones, which made them frown. Go and ask them. They can't always be like this. Lu Yiting sighed and frowned. Gentlemen, are you here for beauty treatment? The assistant approached them and bowed politely. Yes, men have to be handsome now. They can't be too greasy. A burly man smiled lazily. If you want beauty treatment, then please order a set meal and a technician. You have been here for a long time. The assistant had a pair of big watery eyes. When she smiled, her eyes curved into a beautiful crescent moon shape. Fuck. What is the meaning of this? Are you trying to drive us away? Does your boss know the rules? One of the fat, bald men suddenly shouted angrily. He raised the ashtray, and the cigarette ash flew everywhere. The assistant was covered in dust and retreated in panic. When the surrounding female customers saw this, they frowned and looked unhappy. A few of them got up and went to the front desk to pay and leave. Ask your boss to come out and talk to me. You have no right to talk to me. The bald man looked at the assistant coldly, lit another cigarette, and blew smoke. The assistant was so scared that she was about to cry. She stood there in a dilemma. Chapter 542. What's going on? Jiang Tian asked. Lu Yiting looked at Jiang Tian and frowned. This isn't the first time this has happened. There are people coming to the 8 stores in Yanjin every day. Li Yanmei's Qingqing International wanted to buy the shares of Merwa Heaven, but I rejected her offer. I suspect it has something to do with them. Lu Yiting and Jiang Tian said that there was a reason. Jiang Tian was related to the Zhang family, and Zhang Zhonggua was in charge of politics. Therefore, it was easy for Jiang Tian to call the police. In fact, Jiang Tian didn't want to leave them alone. After all, Lu Yiting had helped Jiang Tian a lot in his past life, and Jiang Tian wasn't an ungrateful person. But then Wang Jie smirked and said, Ting, what's the point of talking to him? He's not from Yanjin. Let me do it. After all, I've been in Yanjin for a few years. Can't I handle this? Please leave. He immediately stepped forward to negotiate. He scowled coldly and held his head up high. Who are you? The bald man rolled his eyes and sneered. Wang Jie took out a name card from his bag and threw it at the bald man's face. Wang Jie from Jinyuan Mining. Go and ask around. My boss is Hui Ba. My dad is Director Peng of the Ministry of Land and Resources. Peng Zhenxin also stepped forward and sneered. He wanted to use his dad's status to intimidate the bald man. Don't think that I can't stop you. Enough is enough. Jin Gij also stepped forward to negotiate. A dozen or so students stepped forward, waving flags and shouting as they tried to reason with them. Maybe it was because the bald man was afraid of Wang Jie and Peng Zhenxin's background, but there was nothing he could do. When the bald man saw Jiang Tian standing at the back of the crowd, his heart skipped a beat. What a murderous aura. What a cold look. Based on his many years of experience in the Jianghu, he could tell that this man, who didn't seem to be much, was definitely a ruthless person. Let's go. The bald man in the lead glared at Wang Jie, then called out to his companions and strode away. Jin Gij stuck out her arm and gave them a disdainful middle finger. The students behind him immediately booed. Wang Jie and Peng Zhenxin were even more complacent, and their tone was disdainful as they commented on this group of punks, showing off their victory. From Jiang Tian's point of view, this was just the beginning of a storm. The best part was yet to come. He looked at Lu Yuting and said indifferently, Yuting, you'd better find out who's behind this. I'll help you deal with them. Otherwise, they'll keep pestering you. Wang Jie smiled disdainfully and said, Jiang Tian, you worry too much. They'll be scared to death if they know Zhenxin's and my identity. They're just a bunch of trashy people trying to take advantage of us. Wang Jie, who are they? A classmate asked. To put it bluntly, they're gangsters. Wang Jie smiled. He ignored everyone's shocked gaze as if everyone in the country knew that there were gangsters in Yanjin. There are still gangsters in Beijing. Now we're digging 3 feet into the ground to fight against gangsters. Why is there still one in Beijing? A classmate asked weakly. Wang Jie smiled and said, 2 years ago, there were hundreds of people fighting at the Western Station. Last year, there was a fight for the hospital's number. Swords and guns were dancing. Blood and tears were flying everywhere. In the end, nothing was settled. There was an invisible mastermind behind all of this. The taxi drivers in Yanjin know best which group of people each station belongs to. Every time they pick up a passenger, the driver has to pay 10 yuan. There are also disabled children and dirty old people begging on the streets and subways. Most of them are controlled by organizations. When foreign guests pass by, or are inspected by the leaders, most of the people in the police station will greet them. If this isn't gangsters, then what is? He spoke eloquently and with conviction, his words sharp. And it's only the insignificant side, the lowest side. The higher end of the underground world is related to the Han family and a few other top families. Peng Zhenxin pushed up his black-rimmed glasses and said, You don't understand. The inside story is not for outsiders to know. Young Master Wang is really different now. He has a lot of connections and knows all kinds of forces. Yeah, look at how powerful young Master Wang was. He just threw his name card and those people were scared away. That's right. If you ask me, gangsters can't be compared to the rich and powerful. After all, it's a side business and can't be seen in public. The students were shocked by the two of them, and they flattered Wang Jie and Peng Zhenxin. Jiang Tian, weren't you quite fierce when you were in university? Have your edges been ground away by reality? And Chen Longsheng, you said that you work in the sea. Don't you know a few big shots? You're just watching from the sidelines. Do you think that these small fries are not worth your time? Are you a man or not? Just now, a few of us girls went up to negotiate. One of you stood at the back, and the other ran to the bathroom to hide. Compared to Wang Jie and Peng Zhenxin, who had power and dared to come forward to solve the problem, the few female students were a little disgusted with Jiang Tian and Chen Longsheng. Although these words seemed to be joking, the dissatisfaction and contempt in their bones couldn't be hidden. Okay, stop talking. Jiang Tian is mature, steady and low-key. Let's go eat quickly. Lu Yiting quickly helped Jiang Tian out of the situation. Jiang Tian was related to the Zhang family and scared Zhang Huchen to kneel and beg for mercy. It was easy to deal with these small fries. He was too lazy to do it and wanted to solve the problem in one go. Everyone walked out of beautiful heaven and walked toward the street. Suddenly, dozens of Lexus and a few Maserati sports cars rushed into the pedestrian street of the royal prince's mansion with an arrogant aura. The car door opened and slammed. A series of muffled bangs were amazing. A group of tough men in black suits got out of the car one after another and joined with the big and round men on both sides of the street. They rushed toward beautiful heaven. The people who got out of the car and the people on the street were more than 200 people. Even if they were empty-handed, the pedestrians who were afraid of trouble still avoided them like frightened birds and hid far away. The vast and mighty crowd surged in like a tidal wave. It was as beautiful as heaven itself. The students were dumbfounded. Lu Yiting and Jin Gij were also dumbfounded. Wang Jie and Peng Zhenxin looked at each other and saw the shock on each other's faces. You guys stay here, I'll go take a look. Lu Yiting came back to her senses and hurriedly ran toward beautiful heaven. She was stunned when she entered the door. The men who had just entered did not smash, curse, or beat anyone. They were scattered in groups of 3 to 5 in the foyer, the hall, and the staircase. Their valiant figures were everywhere in conspicuous places, crowding the 3 floors of the building so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. They unscrupulously puffed out smoke, talked and laughed loudly, and spat everywhere. Most of the customers who came to spend money were scared when they saw this scene, and retreated in fear. The waiters, managers of the various departments, and store owners were so shocked that their faces turned pale. But they were helpless. They did not have the guts to chase people away. They called the police, but they did not do anything. They only said that they were waiting for someone. What could the police do? The people from beautiful Heaven International are too cruel. Seeing this, Lu Yiting's face turned pale and cold sweat broke out. Her head buzzed and she almost fell down. Jin Gij, who followed closely behind, was worthy of the tigress title that had accompanied her for more than 10 years. She looked at the leaders and righteously warned them. She introduced herself and said that the Jin family was not to be trifled with. If things got out of hand, no one would have a good time. However, Jin Gij's domineering aura only elicited a few sarcastic laughs with strong disdain. How could a little girl in her 20s control these people who were used to being cruel? If a little girl could scare them, they would have been drowned in the bottomless muddy water of Sijio City. How could they survive? Jin Gij's domineering aura was defeated. She looked around at the men who were laughing coldly and saying nothing and was at a loss. The leader of the group was not one of the 3 bald men from before. This person was thin and had a long and narrow donkey face. His facial paralysis made him neither happy nor angry, and his appearance was average. However, when he sat there, he emitted a gloomy aura of the living dead, which made people's hair stand on end. From Jin Gij's perspective, this guy was like the eunuch from the East Factory who had unfathomable kung fu in the movies. Wei San was nicknamed Eunuch Wei. The famous gangsters in Sijio City called him San Air, while the underlings called him Eunuch Wei behind his back. In short, his name was like his person, emitting a strong gloomy aura. However, the number of experienced gangsters in Yanjing who were qualified to call him San Air was less than 2. More people had to call him Third Brother when they saw him. This guy had a mysterious background. He was also a representative of the district, a member of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, an outstanding entrepreneur, and could drink and chat merrily with the district head and secretary. You're a child of the Jin family, right? A descendant of the royal family. You do have style. Wei San smoked the cigarette in his mouth and said calmly, I've never heard of your father. I've never heard of you before, but I know your dad. Call him and see if he'll let you interfere in this matter. We have our rules, and the rules can't be broken here in beautiful heaven. At this moment, the students had all rushed over. When Peng Zhenxin saw them, he trembled and hesitated whether he should run away as soon as possible. You're not a law enforcement agency. What rules do you have? Why should we listen to your rules? Jean Gage said righteously and gave tit for tat. Bang. Wei San slammed the teacup in his hand on the table, scaring the group of beautiful heavens executives. However, Jean Gage was still glaring at Wei San. Wei San's henchman, De Ben, laughed sinisterly and said, "Hey, this little girl has a fierce temper. I like it. I haven't ridden a fierce horse in a long time. Hee hee." Chapter 543. Fuck you. Jean Gage was so angry that her entire body was trembling, and her beautiful face was flushed red. She raised her hand to slap the other party, but she was pulled back by the trembling Peng Zhenxin. "Gage, we can't afford to offend these people. Let go of me. Let go of me." Jean Gage was so angry that she struggled with all her might. Peng Zhenxin pulled her behind him, took a step forward and said with a smile, "Third master, give me some face and don't make things difficult for our small business. My father is Director Peng of the Ministry of Land and Resources. Get out of here. Why are you, a little brat, getting involved in a discussion between adults?" Wei San scolded sarcastically. Peng Zhenxin's face stiffened, but he didn't dare to say anything. He stood there with a frown on his face. Wang Jie took a deep breath and mustered up his courage. He stepped forward with trepidation, nodding and bowing. He bowed and said, "Master Wei, Boss Hu of Xining Mining is my uncle. Can you take them away for Boss Hu's sake? Boss Lu and I will come to talk to you another day." "Which Boss Hu?" Wei San frowned. "Huiba. Bullshit. Him. He doesn't even dare to say a word in front of me." Wei San smiled disdainfully and spat on the ground. He sneered. "I thought you were a big shot. Huiba is only worth a few billion. He's just a coal miner in Jin province. He hasn't even cleaned his face yet, and he's already here in Yanjing." While cursing, he took out his nouveau riche golden phone and dialed a number. After saying a few words casually, he handed the phone to Wang Jie and said arrogantly, "Answer it, it's your uncle." Wang Jie had just put the phone to his ear when he heard Huiba's angry voice. "Get out of here. Why are you a mortal, getting involved in a fight between gods? Wei San is Lu Liwei's man. Get out of here if you don't want to die." "Uncle." Wang Jie was so scared that his forehead was sweating. He wanted to say something, but Huiba had already hung up the phone. "We're not here to make trouble. We just want to talk business with Boss Lu. Why are you so angry? Let's go and have a beer to cool down." The lackey dashed to Jean Gage's side and pulled her snow-white arm, obviously wanting to take advantage of her. Jean Gage, who had learned Taekwondo for 3 years, reacted quickly and mercilessly. She pulled and flung, tripping him with her feet. She did not seem like a girl at all. De Benz had never thought that a little girl would play this trick, and it really became De Benz. Whoosh. He jumped out and miserably drilled under the massage bed 2 meters away. His head hit one of the bed legs and blood immediately gushed out. "Great run!" a group of people exclaimed, and the audience was in an uproar. Although De Ben was wretched and lecherous, he was Wei San's brother-in-law. Although his sister was not Wei San's legal wife, she was the most favored mistress. "You're courting death." Wei San was stunned at first, then his face turned angry. The 2-meter-tall muscular man behind him suddenly stood up and approached Jean Gage, raising his hand to slap her in the face. According to Taekwondo, Jean Gage originally had at least 10 ways to deal with this kind of move that was not considered a move. However, she felt a sense of powerlessness when the powerful slap came at her. "Gage, I already told you to stay out of this." Seeing this, the 4-eyed man Peng Zhenxin helplessly stopped and took out his phone to call the emergency number. Wang Jie could only sigh helplessly, knowing that things had gotten out of hand, and his heart was filled with sorrow. The most frightening thing about Wei San and his gang was not their fighters but their connections. They were Lu Liwei's men. In front of this kind of real power and influence, the millionaires with a net worth of hundreds of millions and billions were like chickens and dogs that couldn't withstand a single blow. "Gage!" Lu Yiting and the other girls also exclaimed and turned their heads away in fear, not daring to look. Bang! There was a muffled sound, followed by the sound of tables and chairs rolling and windows breaking. The girls who turned their heads away did not think it was the sound of a slap. When they turned their heads, they saw that Jean Gage was safe and sound, while the bear-like man had crashed through the floor-to-ceiling glass window and fallen on the street, motionless. The entire hall on the first floor of Heavenly Beauty was suddenly dead silent. The gangsters who had been smoking and drinking without restraint stood up slowly, while the ones who were smoking threw away their cigarette butts and stared in the same direction, and the same person as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Jean Gage also looked at Jiang Tian in surprise. Damn, when did you become so good at fighting? Although this group of people who had been living in Suzhou City did not know who Jiang Tian was, they could tell that this guy was definitely a tough nut to crack. He could kick someone more than 10 meters away. If he was in the underground boxing market, he would be almost invincible. Wei San stared at Jiang Tian and was speechless for a long time. He stood up involuntarily. On the one hand, he was shocked by Jiang Tian's nimble fighting skills, but more importantly, he was intimidated by Jiang Tian's overwhelming dominance. This young man was quite handsome, but his eyes were indifferent, domineering, and ruthless, as if he was a peerless demon who had walked out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. If you leave now and don't come here in the future, I won't argue with you. We can't be considered friends, but we can't be considered enemies either, alright? Jiang Tian said in an indifferent tone. Damn, you want me to leave? You want to argue with me? Hearing this, Wei San was furious. He pointed at Jiang Tian's nose arrogantly and shouted, Do you know who I am? I am Lu Liwei's man. Lu Liwei. This is troublesome. Yu Ting, how did you offend Lu Liwei? Jean Gage, who had always been arrogant and domineering, was shocked and her face turned pale. Lu Yiting frowned and shook her head gently. Obviously, she did not know Lu Liwei at all. Who is Lu Liwei? A group of students frowned and looked at each other. They all saw the confusion on each other's faces. Between people, there was an invisible barrier, a chasm between classes. Lu Liwei was a notorious name in Yanjin's upper-class society, but it was unfamiliar to them. So, Lu Liwei is the one behind Wei San. Peng Zhenxin was terrified. His face was pale and his legs were cramping. He looked at Wang Jie. He finally understood why Wei San was so arrogant, and why he was able to dominate a few districts in Yanjin for more than a decade. He also finally understood why Hu Yiba asked Wang Jie to get out of here and mind his own business. Lu Liwei. He was Lu Lishuan's brother, the young master of the Lu family, the most spoiled brat in Yanjin. He had billions of assets and shares in the heavenly earth and the emperor's palace. Not to mention him, even Zhang Huqin, Han Junkai, and the other young masters paled in comparison. He tugged at Jean Gage and lowered his voice, but it was unprecedentedly serious. Gage, don't get involved in this mess. Your classmates offended Lu Liwei and none of them will live. No one in Suzhou City dares to offend him. Wang Jie looked at Lu Yuting helplessly and said, I think you should ask Jiang Tian to apologize. Otherwise, young Master Lu will be more difficult to deal with than Wei San. Why should we apologize? They disrupted our business. And that guy even took advantage of us. Is it wrong for Jiang Tian to hit that pervert? Lu Yiting pondered and didn't say anything. Jean Gage snorted and scolded. Wang Jie ignored her and shook his head. A glint of disdain flashed in his eyes. Why? Just because the other party is richer than you, just because the other party has more power than you, just because the other party has more money than you, just because you ants. What can you use to arm wrestle with the other party? Jiang Tian was dazed and burst into laughter. He asked in disbelief. You are Lu Liwei's underling? What a coincidence. Of course. You have also heard of young Master Lu. Wei San thought Jiang Tian was scared. He sneered and said, Boy, are you scared? Do you think you can do whatever you want in Suzhou City just because you can fight? There are many more masters in Suzhou City who are better than you. Ask him to come here. I am looking for him. Jiang Tian said coldly. A sharp glint flashed in his eyes. You want to meet young Master Lu? Who do you think you are? Wei San sneered. Do you think Lu Liwei will come out if I break your legs? Jiang Tian suddenly laughed. What did you say? Wei San was stunned and took a step back subconsciously. However, Jiang Tian had already made his move. Two crisp cracking sounds were heard. Wei San, who had been domineering in Suzhou City for many years, was lying on the ground like a dead dog. His legs were bent into a weird angle and were bleeding. His white bones were exposed. They were fractured. Ouch! Wei San screamed and rolled on the ground, holding his legs. Blood spurted out and left streaks of bright red on the ground. Damn, how dare you hit our boss? Let's attack him together. Kill him. A group of hooligans was enraged and rushed toward Jiang Tian. However, they were no match for Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian sent one of them flying with a slap. 3 minutes later, there were dozens of them lying on the ground. What a tough guy. His combat power is too scary. Ask young Master Lu to come here. Even Third Master was hurt. The rest of the hooligans were scared out of their wits. They ran out and called for backup. Jiang Tian, you are in trouble. Lu Liwei has money, people, and background. How can you beat up his people? Yuting, hurry up and apologize to Wei San. Call an ambulance. Wang Jie was so scared that his legs were shaking. He was so anxious that he beat his chest and stamped his feet. He felt that Jiang Tian had pushed Lu Yiting into a fire pit. Jiang Tian turned around and looked at Lu Yiting calmly. He smiled gently and said, Yiting, you are my friend. From now on, everything you do is right. You don't need to apologize to anyone. Because my fists are the biggest. As he spoke, he showed his white fists. Chapter 544. Seeing this, Lu Yiting laughed through her tears. She punched Jiang Tian and said, You're still joking. You scared me to death. Seeing that Jiang Tian was stubborn, Lu Yiting continued to flirt with him. Wang Jie secretly scolded her for acting recklessly. He sneered at Lu Yiting. Yiting, do you think this is like when we were in school? Whoever can fight will be the best. Jiang Tian is harming you. It looks like he's helping you, but in fact he's putting you in an irrecoverable position. Lu Yiting's face turned cold. If you want to watch the show, then stay here. If you don't want to watch the show, then don't make sarcastic remarks. Hurry up and leave. Her words sent Wang Jie flying 1,000 miles away. Wang Jie's face turned red. He stammered, I'm doing this for your own good. At this time, Wei San's phone rang. He endured the pain and picked up the call. He roared at Jiang Tian. Kid, just you wait. Chaoyang branch will be here in 3 minutes. You'll die. Okay, I'll wait for him. Jiang Tian was calm and composed. He called Zhang Yilin and Yuan Lei from the Redwall Internal Guards Regiment. At this time, a few police cars arrived with their sirens blaring. 5 policemen walked in with a few auxiliary policemen. The leader was a tall, square-faced policeman who reeked of alcohol. He asked majestically, What's going on? Who's the one who's causing trouble? Lu Yiting was about to speak. Wei San was held up by his 2 companions. He came to the front of the policeman and complained with a face full of grief and indignation. Chief Zhao, I came here with a few friends for a beauty treatment. Their service was terrible. We said a few words, but they didn't like it. They even beat us up. Chief Zhao, look at how ruthless they were. My legs are broken. Zhao Hai observed the scene and thought that Wei San's acting was very professional and ruthless. In order to make the scene look beautiful, he deliberately broke his leg. It would be a waste of his excellent acting talent if he didn't go to the Beijing film studio to be an extra. Although he despised him in his heart, when there was no one around, he still had to respectfully call Wei San third brother. Zhao Hai cast a sidelong glance at Jiang Tian and proudly said, Handcuff this kid and detain him. Why are you handcuffing me? Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Did you hit this guy? Zhao pointed at the man who was kicked out of the street by Wei Sanhe. It wasn't me. From the beginning to the end, I didn't touch them at all. Jiang Tian said calmly. Didn't you hit Wei San? There are surveillance cameras everywhere. Do you still want to deny it? Zhao Hai suddenly raised his voice, roaring like a thunderclap. He was like an angry Vajra, awe-inspiring and insufferably arrogant. Yiting, show him the video. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Lu Yiting hesitated for a moment, but still went. Oh my God, does this kid know magic? The police officers were dumbfounded when they saw the surveillance footage. From the beginning to the end, Jiang Tian didn't touch either of them. It seemed that when Jiang Tian waved his sleeves, one of the tall, brawny men flew out, and the other had his leg broken. but from a direct point of view, there was no physical contact between the two. As for the other gangsters, they were slapped by Jiang Tian, but there was no reason to arrest Jiang Tian. Someone else made the first move. Zhao Hai frowned and pondered. He had always been brothers with Wei San. When a brother was in trouble, he couldn't just ignore it. Besides, Wei San had young Master Lu behind him, an existence he couldn't afford to offend. He thought for a moment, then said solemnly, "Whether you hit him or not, it's still a matter of time. But you have to go back to the station to assist in the investigation. Citizens have the obligation to assist in the investigation, but I have to choose the time and place. Sorry, I'm very busy right now. Wait until I have time." Jiang Tian lazily looked at Zhao Hai. When Zhao Hai heard this, he flew into a rage. The Maotai he drank earlier in the evening rushed to his head. He pointed his fat finger at Jiang Tian's nose and shouted, "Kid, you dare to be so savage in front of me? Believe it or not, I'll peel off a layer of skin. I have 100 ways to make you wish you were dead." At this time, Jiang Tian's phone rang. He picked it up and said with a faint smile, "Old Zhang wants to talk to you." "I'm Zhao Hai. Where are you?" Zhao Hai was a bit puzzled, but he still took the phone and shouted loudly, "I'm Zhang Zhonggua. I want to talk to your leader." Zhang Zhonggua's calm, powerful, and angry voice came from the phone. "Damn, Jiang Tian is our Zhang family's savior. These bastards actually dared to bully Jiang Tian. How can I, as his uncle, not do anything?" Zhao Hai was furious. "If you're Zhang Zhonggua, then I'm Zhang Zhonggua's father. Don't try to pretend. Be careful, or I'll find your number and go to your house." After that, he threw the phone aside and ordered his men to arrest Zhao Hai. Jiang Tian didn't get angry. He stretched out his hands and put on handcuffs with a smile. He looked at Chief Zhao with pity. Something's wrong, Zhao Hai secretly thought. But after thinking about it carefully, he was the most powerful person in the district besides the district's secretary. Could there be something wrong? Next to him, Jin Gij was shocked. Lu Yiting was also very confused. How could the Zhang family's relationship be so bad? The two women were in a hurry and called their connections. But as soon as the other side heard that this matter was related to Wei San, they all said that there was no way. Jin Gij was also scolded by her mother. Peng Zhenxin and Wang Jia looked at each other and shook their heads. Then they looked at Jiang Tian with contempt. This bastard, he's really good at pretending to have a relationship with Zhang Zhonggua. But at this time, Zhao Hai's phone rang. He looked at the number and cold sweat came down. It was the city bureau chief's office. Zhao Hai answered. "Hello, I'm Zhao Hai. May I ask who this is?" "Zhao Hai, how many pounds of fake alcohol did you drink last night? You dare to argue with the city's leaders. I think you're tired of this police uniform. If you want to be unlucky, don't drag me down. Secretary Zhang said that he'll come to your branch to inspect your work. You wait, if I get scolded, I'll definitely not forgive you." A thunderous scolding came from the other end of the phone. The voice belonged to old Zhou of the city police bureau. Zhao was scolded until his face turned red and white. He used a handkerchief to wipe the cold sweat off his forehead. His drunkenness was completely exposed. Putting away his phone, Zhao Hai slapped the members of the defense team a few times and angrily shouted, "Stop messing around. Who told you to handcuff people? Hurry up and release them." Several temporary workers were very puzzled. They didn't know what Zhao Hai was doing, but they still went forward to help Jiang Tian uncuff. Zhao Hai quickly put on a smile and gave Jiang Tian a cigarette. He grabbed Jiang Tian's hand and shook it. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were Secretary Zhang's friend." "Ha!" Jiang Tian wouldn't lower himself to the same level as this small fish. "It's my fault. I didn't make it clear to you." Zhao Hai patted his thigh and said, "Brother, you're too polite. Let's go. I'll be the host. I'll treat you later." But the matter of beautiful as heaven. Jiang Tian smiled and put the cigarette in his mouth. Zhao Hai quickly lit Jiang Tian's cigarette and smiled. "It's just a small dispute. No one got hurt. Let's just forget about it." On one side was Zhang Zhonggua, on the other was the Lu family's young master Lu Liwei. He couldn't offend either side, so he could only smooth things over. The two of them chatted for a while. The atmosphere was quite harmonious. Zhao Hai said that Beautiful as Heaven was a high-tech company supported by the district. He would pay more attention to it in the future. Then he said goodbye. Zhao Hai, how come no one got hurt? Wei San wanted to stop him. But Zhao Hai glared and shouted angrily. You're hurt, but you fell down yourself. How can you blame others? Don't make trouble. Hurry to the hospital. If you're late, you won't be able to get through. He hurriedly left with the police. The group of people were dumbfounded. They looked at Jiang Tian in a completely different way. Who was Jiang Tian's phone call? Why was Zhao Hai so scared? Peng Zhenxin and Wang Jie both sucked in a breath of cold air. They looked at Jiang Tian with shock and fear in their eyes. The two of them were very familiar with the procedures of power operations. They knew how important this call was. Wei San was at his wits' end. He knew that he had met a ruthless person today. He hesitated whether or not he should hurry to the hospital. If he didn't go now, he would probably die from excessive blood loss. Fortunately, the ambulance came. Wei San simply bandaged his wound and stopped the bleeding. He ignored the doctor's strict advice and returned to Beautiful as Heaven. Young Master Lu was coming. How could he not be there? He would be punished by Lu Liwei. Fortunately, they didn't have to wait too long before a little brother ran over. Third Master, young Master Lu is here. The Demon King really came. Peng Zhenxin and Wang Jie's hearts thumped. Their faces were as pale as paper. The police are useless. What can he do? It seemed that Jiang Tian's presence greatly increased Jean Gige's confidence. She was not afraid and snorted coldly. Wang Jie curled his lips and said, Haha, back in the day at Drunk Eye Bar, there was a son of the West District mayor who accidentally bumped into him. He directly broke both of his legs. How capable do you think he is? Peng Zhenxin adjusted his glasses and said with a serious face, Gige, you don't know this. The Lu family is the most powerful political and business family in Yanjin. Back in the day, he and Han Junkai were racing on the second ring road. For some reason, they got angry. He pointed a gun at Han Juansai's head and forced him to kneel. In the end, the Han family left the matter unsettled. He then shook his head and said, No matter how capable your classmate is, how can he be his opponent? While they were talking, a skinny young man with slicked back hair, a mink cloak and custom-made leather shoes inlaid with diamonds walked in arrogantly and domineeringly. Young Master Lu, look at how badly I've been beaten up. You have to avenge me. Wei San was like a loyal dog that had seen its master. He limped forward and complained pitifully while being carried by two of his men. Slap. Lu Liwei raised his hand and slapped Wei San until he fell to the ground. He scolded. Useless. You can't even handle a woman. Fuck. Why don't you buy a piece of tofu and kill yourself? Chapter 545. Who hit him? Lu Liwei's pair of sinister and ruthless triangular eyes looked around as he yawned listlessly. Him. Someone pointed at Jiang Tian. Fuck. Who was it? Isn't it Jiang Tian? Lu Liwei's gaze fell on Jiang Tian. He was taken aback for a second, and then burst into laughter. Jiang Tian, why are you in Yanjin? You're still so arrogant, daring to hit my people. Did someone squash your head? Young Master Lu, do you know this kid? He doesn't look familiar. Wei San asked with a frown. He's awesome. He's the young master of the Medicine King group. He was engaged to Song Shuangyan. Lu Liwei sneered and said, No wonder Zhao Hai didn't dare to mess with him. His uncle is Zhang Zhonggua. I can't believe this kid has such a trump card. He was engaged to Song Shuangyan, one of the four beauties of Yanjin. Peng Zhenxin and Wang Jie's faces changed drastically. They stared at Jiang Tian in disbelief as if they had seen a ghost. The Medicine King Group's market value was over 100 billion and its CEO, Zhang Wanqing, was worth 30 billion. She was ranked 10th on the Forbes list. Zhang Zhonggua was the third most powerful person in Yanjin. Jiang Tian's background was not something they could compare with. Zhang Zhonggua's nephew. Young Master Lu. Why don't we just forget about this? Wei San's heart skipped a beat as he spoke hesitantly. TSK, you overestimate him. Lu Liwei sat on a chair that his subordinate had pulled over. He crossed his legs and laughed mockingly. He said with a sneer, When I accompanied young Master Song to break off the engagement, he still dared to argue with me. In the end, his grandfather called him to Yanjin and punished him to kneel down and apologize to me. I asked him to bark like a dog and he did a good job. He shook his shiny leather shoes, picked up a soft Chunghwa cigarette, and said with a face full of disdain, "Ever since he messed with the Song family and the Lu family, his grandfather, Zhang Jinghua, and the Jiang family cut ties with him. Zhang Zhonghua probably doesn't know that I'm your backer." "I see. Haha, so what if he does?" "Young Master Lu, step on him and let him continue barking like a dog." Wei San immediately revealed a look of disdain and passionately instigated. A big family like the Zhang clan had many branches and leaves, and had many descendants all over Wuxia. The direct line of descent and the collateral line were completely different. If it was a direct descendant like Zhang Damfeng who came out, Wei San would definitely have to give way, not daring to offend them. However, even if Zhang Damfeng stepped out, it was still not enough to intimidate Lu Liwei. After all, the Lu family was the #1 political and business family in Yanjin, while the Zhang family was only ranked in the top 20. However, if it was a distant descendant of the Zhang clan who had offended the Lu clan and the Song clan and had their relations severed, then they would be like a phoenix without feathers, not even worth mentioning in front of Lu Liwei. Seeing Lu Liwei's arrogant appearance, a trace of killing intent flashed in the depths of Jiang Tian's eyes. He smiled and said, "Have you said enough?" Lu Liwei was the young master who accompanied Song Shuangyan to the Jiang family to break off the engagement. He had humiliated Jiang Tian and Jiang Chongqing. Jiang Tian couldn't bear it and fought with him, but he had to endure endless humiliation and torture. "All right, I'll talk to you." Lu Liwei looked at Jiang Tian coldly and said, "Jiang Tian, you better not interfere in this matter." "So what if I interfere?" Jiang Tian raised his hand and slapped Lu Liwei's face, causing the latter to feel dizzy and shake his head for a long time. Lu Liwei had never imagined that Jiang Tian would actually dare to hit him. His eyes were filled with anger as he roared, "Brat, how dare you hit me? So what if I hit you? You dog, so what if I kill you?" Jiang Tian said calmly, "However, I won't kill you. However, I won't kill you. I'll play with you properly. Your following days will be very miserable, very sad." Lu Liwei was about to explode when a bodyguard took out his mobile phone and said, "Young Master Lu, a call." "I'm not answering it. Can't you see that I'm going to teach someone a lesson?" Lu Liwei pushed the phone away and said irritably, "It's Li Yanmei," the bodyguard said. Hearing this, Lu Liwei was slightly moved. He quickly took the phone and pressed the answer button. His face was full of flattery and fawning. He said with a flattering tone, "Sister May, don't worry. I'm helping you. Don't worry. I'll definitely help you get beautiful as heaven." Get beautiful as heaven. There's a fire in the backyard. Heavenly Earth, Imperial Palace, Great Joy and several other places have been raided by the Yanjin police. Li Yanmei's exasperated voice came out. "What? Who the fuck dares to raid my places?" Lu Liwei couldn't believe it and was furious. These places were well known in Yanjin, and were the places where successful men squandered their money. The girls who accompanied him were almost all campus belles from major universities such as Beijing Film Academy, Beijing Foreign Art Academy and China Drama Academy. These places were also his core industries. The monthly income was hundreds of millions or even billions. The net profit every month was hundreds of millions. But because they were afraid of the Lu family behind him, the police had never dared to touch these places that had stood for 10 years without collapsing. Therefore, these places were also the safest and most high-end entertainment places in Yanjin. Almost all of them were members only. I've asked around. It was Zhang Zhonggua's order. Zhang Zhonggua held a meeting an hour ago and mobilized his men. And the police from Beha province. That's why we didn't get the news at all. It's a mess now. Li Yanmei said angrily. Lu Liwei hung up the phone and glared at Jiang Tian. "Jiang Tian, you've grown up. You can mobilize your uncle now. How dare you mess with my place? Are you going to start a war with the Lu family? Do you want to fight to the death? You think you're qualified to represent the Lu family? In Wuxia, which power is worth me fighting to the death?" Jiang Tian smirked. "In my eyes, You're just an ant that I can crush. Jiang Tian, stop it now. I'll let you go, or else. Lu Liwei's face turned red as he gritted his teeth. Or else what? Jiang Tian said lightly. Or else I'll kill you. Lu Liwei grinned. You know who I am, and you know that I have the guts and ability to do so. What he got in return was a slap on his face. Slap. Jiang Tian slapped Lu Liwei to the ground. This time Jiang Tian hit him even harder. Lu Liwei's face was swollen and 2 of his teeth flew out. What are you waiting for? Kill him. Lu Liwei was fuming. His eyes were filled with malice as he scolded coldly. Suddenly, 7 or 8 bodyguards pulled out their guns and pointed them at Jiang Tian. The girls around them screamed. They really do have guns. Peng Zhenxin was also shocked. Young Master Lu, please don't do that. It'll be hard to clean up after someone dies. Wang Jie stomped his foot and sighed. Jiang Tian, you have a great background and can definitely be considered a character. But it depends on who you're talking to. So what if you're Zhang Zhongguo's nephew? Don't you know how powerful Lu Liwei is? The situation took a turn for the worse, and Lu Liwei thought he had the upper hand. He crawled up, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and sneered arrogantly. Jiang Tian, kneel down and bark like a dog, and I'll spare your lowly life. Just when everyone thought that Jiang Tian was at his wit's end, and was about to lower his head, suddenly, a few rugged and domineering domestic explosion-proof vehicles barged in, and stopped in front of the gate. Holy shit. That's Unit 6188. The Navy's Internal Defense Unit. Oh my god, who is Jiang Tian? His trump card is too powerful. Peng Zhenxin and Wang Jie were dumbfounded by the sight. Their faces turned pale. Unit 6188, the Internal Defense Unit of the Red Wall, formerly known as Unit 8341, was a legendary unit. If 1 division and 3 divisions of the Yanjing garrison were considered the Imperial Guards, then the 8341 unit could be called the Imperial Guards. For those who knew about the unit, the Internal Defense Unit of the Red Wall was no match for the War Dragon unit. It was even weaker than the nuclear Unit 8342 that had been hiding in the Gobi Desert for decades. However, the Internal Defense Unit of the Red Wall was still the most powerful unit in Yanjing. Suddenly, countless people's faces changed color. The heavy car doors opened and slammed shut. The muffled thuds were shocking. Burly figures armed to the teeth with loaded guns suddenly appeared, and rushed into the heavenly beauty. Put down your guns and kneel down with your hands behind your head. Kill anyone who dares to resist. A dozen Internal Defense Unit soldiers immediately positioned themselves at the most important positions. All of them held a submachine gun in their hands, and aimed at the bodyguards. They wore bulletproof helmets, face masks, air headsets, anti-stun night vision goggles, and other equipment. They also had pistols, grenades, flashbangs, and other weapons hanging from their waists. They were well equipped. Compared to them, Lu Liwei's bodyguards were like a bunch of kids playing with toy guns. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Good citizen. I'm a good citizen. Wei San's face turned pale. His body trembled uncontrollably as he knelt on the ground. Just like Pan Changjiang in the movie Hands Up, he raised his hands high. The bodyguards didn't even hesitate for a second. They put down their guns on the ground and squatted down with their hands behind their heads. A well-built and mighty figure walked into the beautiful scene with majestic gait. 2 cold lightning-like eyes swept across, making Lu Liwei feel a chill at the back of his head. Lu Liwei's face turned pale and he couldn't help but exclaim, "Uncle Yuan, my bodyguards are all from a legitimate security company. They all have a gun license." Chapter 546. Who's your uncle? Stop trying to get close to me. Yuan Lei walked in front of Lu Liwei. Like a lion looking down at a weak little rabbit, he let out a thunderous roar. Even if you have a gun license, you can't hurt civilians. This is an important place in the capital, a city of kindness. I will not allow any illegal violence to occur here. Everyone has to follow the rules. You Lu Liwei don't have any special privileges. I'll report this to the chief. I'd like to see if the patriarch of the Lu family can give me a reasonable explanation. Numerous voices exploded out like thunderclaps, and it shook everyone to the point they felt dizzy and couldn't even stand steadily. No matter what the result is, I'm telling you, Lu Wei, that I, Yuan Lei, have my eyes on you. If you continue to run amok like this, next time, I will not show any mercy and directly kill you. Yes, yes, Uncle Yuan. I know I'm wrong. I won't do it again. It's all a misunderstanding. Lu Wei's head buzzed and his face turned pale as he trembled in fear. This top thug in Yanjin immediately turned into an obedient child being scolded by his parents and teachers. He smiled, bowed and nodded like a chick pecking at rice. If it was someone else, even Zhang Zhonghua, he wouldn't be afraid. He might even be able to deal with it. But facing Yuan Lei, the leader of the Red Wall internal guards, he felt like he had met his nemesis. He was terrified and didn't dare to act rashly. One had to know that the Red Wall internal guards were the Imperial Secret Service. Although they weren't as strong as Zhanlong, they were still in existence that these rich kids couldn't afford to offend. The reason was simple. They were close to the Emperor and had an important position. They could talk to the chief directly. If their misdeeds were exposed, even the Patriarch wouldn't be able to protect them. Take them away. Yuan Lei nodded his head at Jiang Tian, then waved his hand. Yes. Many internal guards immediately handcuffed Lu Wei and a few bodyguards. Moreover, they were handcuffed to the back and were escorted out of the door. Lu Wei. Hearing Jiang Tian calling him, Lu Wei's figure paused. He didn't turn around, but his face was filled with resentment. At this moment, Jiang Tian laughed contemptuously. Remember, you don't have the qualifications to be my opponent. You're the one who asked for it. Please help me pass a message to Song Shuangyan. If she took something from the Jiang family, I will go and get it. All right, I'll definitely bring it to you. Lu Wei was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. He gritted his teeth so hard that they almost broke. Jiang Tian, this brat is really sinister. This time, I admit defeat, but this matter is not over. When Lu Wei came, he was aggressive and insufferably arrogant. When he left, his face was bruised and his face was covered with a hood. His hands were handcuffed behind his back. It could be said that he was covered in dirt and was in a sorry state. Half a minute after everyone had left, everyone stared at Jiang Tian with their mouths agape, unable to come back to their senses for a long time. Jiang Tian, you're really something. You even managed to get the embroidered uniform guards involved. In the end, it was Jean Gage who broke the silence. However, she could clearly feel that her laughter was a bit unnatural. Jiang Tian, who the hell are you? Wang Jie lit a cigarette for Jiang Tian with a humble and flattering smile. Although Lu Wei is not a core member of the Lu family, he is still a member of the Lu family. Peng Zhenqin also looked at Jiang Tian in a new light. He only felt that his act of showing off was a joke. Lu Yiting also looked at Jiang Tian in confusion. She felt that this old classmate of hers was unbelievable. Even if Jiang Tian was Zhang Zhonggua's nephew, he still couldn't mobilize the Red Wall guards. Even Zhang Zhonghua himself couldn't mobilize them. I am indeed related to the Zhang family, but we are not very close. As for the Red Wall guards, Jiang Tian shrugged his shoulders and said indifferently, they didn't say a word to me from the beginning to the end. They probably came out for supper and accidentally bumped into me. I see. Some of the students were enlightened, while others were skeptical. However, the way they looked at Jiang Tian was completely different. In any case, the fact that Jiang Tian was a relative of the Zhang family and the crown prince of the Medicine King group was enough for them to look up to him. I thought he was just a good-for-nothing. I didn't expect him to be so powerful. Many of the students looked at Jiang Tian with burning eyes. Damn, I can't miss this opportunity. I have to build a relationship with Jiang Tian. Wang Jie thought to himself. When they arrived at the dining hall, everyone's attitude toward Jiang Tian was completely different. They kept urging him to drink. Even if Jiang Tian only took a small sip each time, everyone would still drink it in one gulp. Furthermore, those who were able to drink a cup with Jiang Tian also felt extremely honored. Boss, this is a toast to you. I was wrong before. Wang Jie didn't wait for Jiang Tian's response and finished the drink. University dormitories were arranged according to age and called each other brothers. Jiang Tian was the oldest. Everyone else called Jiang Tian boss, but Wang Jie had never called him that. Today was the first time. He used to be a snob and mocked Jiang Tian several times. Today, he learned that there was always someone better than him. It was not wrong to be humble at all times. It's okay. We are all roommates. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and took a sip. When the water is too clear, there will be no fish. No one was perfect. Although Wang Jie was greedy, vain, and lecherous, this was formed by the influence of his family environment. He was not an evil person by nature. In fact, when Lu Liwei's bodyguard pointed a gun at him, he was anxious and tried to persuade him. Jiang Tian, you are Ms. Zhang Wanqing's only son, right? Jin Gij asked. Everyone stopped drinking and turned to look at Jiang Tian. Yes. My father worked for the government. The family planning policy was very strict. Jiang Tian nodded. That's awesome. The crown prince. Tens of billions of assets will be yours in the future. Wang Jie said enviously. That's right, that's right. There's no need to fight to the death. You don't know, but the descendants of several big families in Beijing are fighting for the right of inheritance. Some of them even killed people. Jin Gij laughed. Chen Longxing's hand that was holding the glass trembled slightly as a glint of sadness appeared in his eyes. Because of the incident with Beautiful Sky, everyone arrived a little late. Although they only drank for 2 hours, they only left after 11 at night. Everyone came to the hotel lobby and took a taxi home. However, Chen Longxing yawned and said that he needed to go to the washroom. He then went back upstairs and asked everyone to leave first. Lu Yuting's beautiful eyes rippled as she looked at Jiang Tian and said, Jiang Tian, you drank wine, let me send you off. Jiang Tian held the cigarette in his mouth and kept silent for a while. Then he suddenly said, Yuting, come with me. Jiang Tian rushed upstairs in big strides. Lu Yiting and the rest followed behind, only to see Jiang Tian enter the washroom on the second floor and kick open a cubicle. Chen Longxing walked out awkwardly and said with a smile, Jiang Tian, why did you come back again? I have something to tell you. I'm a little short on money recently. Can you lend me some money? 3 to 5,000 is fine. Slap. Chen Longxing's smiling face was met with a crisp slap. Even though Jiang Tian had purposely suppressed his cultivation, Chen Longxing was still unable to withstand this attack. He fell to the ground with blood spurting out from his nose and mouth. He covered his face and looked at Jiang Tian in shock. He didn't seem to understand why Jiang Tian hit him. Chen Longxing didn't dare to look at Jiang Tian. He shook his head and pretended that he didn't know why Jiang Tian hit him. Is it easy? Jiang Tian tore open his pocket. The syringe, tin foil, lighter, and powder all fell to the ground. Chen Longxing was stunned. When he wasn't addicted to drugs, he still felt a little ashamed. He lowered his head in shame and tears filled his eyes. Useless. Jiang Tian pointed at his nose and scolded. He then raised his hand and pointed at Jin Gij, and the rest at the door. According to my observation, other than Lu Yiting, everyone knows that you've already taken drugs. They sympathize with you on the surface, but they're actually gloating. They're laughing at you. You're still shamelessly borrowing money. Even if they lend you money, they'll treat you like a beggar in the subway. They're giving you alms from above. Jiang Tian's words were powerful and powerful. Jin Gij and the rest who had rushed to the door looked a little unnatural. Chen Longxing lay on the ground and gradually turned from whimpers to sobs, and finally to wails. Jiang Tian, I don't have the face to see you. Chen Longxing was full of shame and regret. He wailed. Back then, after your marriage was annulled, I recklessly went to Lu Liwei and fought with him. But I didn't get any advantage. I was even grounded by my family, deprived of my inheritance, and sent to London. When I was in London, I was set up by Lu Liwei's friends and a few of my brothers. I became addicted to drugs. I've been taking drugs for 3 years. I didn't get a diploma, and I don't have a job. I'm lying. I'm pretending. Jiang Tian, I'm completely useless. I'm better off dead. I'll only disgust others if I live. There's only hope if you're alive. Jiang Tian was moved when he heard this. He sighed and patted the shoulder of Chen Longxing, who was crying bitterly, and said, Go home and prepare. I'll contact Zhang Zhonghua. and send you to the best drug rehabilitation center. You can only leave that thing after you change your environment. Jiang Tian'ai. Chen Longxing hesitated. After asking, Jiang Tian found out that the Chen family was actually a second or third-tier secular family in Yanjin. They were a branch of the Chen family. That was easy to deal with. Jiang Tian made a phone call and gave the order. Chen Zifan immediately acted decisively. In just an hour, he took back Chen Longxing's inheritance rights and became the family head. That was the advantage of having power. Chen Longxing's family had been fighting for the inheritance for a long time. But Jiang Tian only needed to say a few words. At the same time, Zhang Zhonggua drove the car and picked up Chen Longxing with the person in charge of the drug rehabilitation center. Jiang Tian, thank you. Before getting into the car, Chen Longxing hugged Jiang Tian and cried. No matter what, you're my best buddy in university. I'll help you get back what you lost because of me. Jiang Tian helped Chen Longxing get into the car. His casual words tugged at everyone's heartstrings. Jiang Tian was a good buddy. The person who forced you to drink at the table might not be your buddy. The person who told you how others scolded you behind your back might not be your friend. The person who helped you when you were in danger and woke you up when you did something wrong was a real buddy. Chapter 547. At the same time, in a brightly lit building built against the mountain beside Kunming Lake, a tall and majestic old man with an extraordinary bearing was playing chess with a dignified young man on a torreya wood chessboard. The black and white Yongchang chess pieces looked as gentle as jade. They were locked in battle on the chessboard. In the end, the young man with the white chess piece won and gradually surrounded the black chess pieces. The old man put a few black chess pieces in his hand into the chess box and laughed heartily. Li Xuan, your chess skills have improved, and your layout is farsighted. I'm old, and I can't do it anymore. His eyes were filled with admiration and gratification, but there was also a hint of fear that was difficult to detect. Grandpa Yi, you've given in to me. I'm too sharp, and you're the one who has endless tricks up your sleeve. The handsome young man smiled humbly. On the plaque hanging on the lintel of the pavilion, there were a few gilded words, Songtao Pavilion. The surroundings were filled with pine trees and covered in snow. Songtao Pavilion was located in a large manor. There were pavilions, 9 winding corridors, rockeries, and strange rocks. Lotus ponds and fish ponds complemented each other. It was surrounded by mountains and rivers, and had an antique atmosphere. Under the bright lights, it looked like a fairyland on earth. This Songtao Villa, known as the Pearl of Yanjing, was remodeled from the courtyard of an Iron Hat King in the Qing dynasty. Standing at the highest point of Songtao Pavilion, one could directly overlook half of Kunming Lake. The location was blessed by nature. This was a private club belonging to the Song family. It was usually used to entertain the top tycoons, high-ranking officials, and cultural celebrities. Beside him, there was a woman with an extraordinary temperament in a Cheongsam brewing tea on a tea tray. The woman was about 40 years old, but the merciless carving knife of time did not leave a single mark on her body. Her skin was still as smooth as jade. On the contrary, her temperament was even more graceful. On her wrist was a set of 9-eyed heavenly jewels worth at least 10 million yuan. Her movements of brewing tea were as smooth as flowing water. If a tea ceremony master was here, he would definitely praise her and be amazed. Master, young Master Lu, have a cup of tea. The woman stretched out her snow-white wrist and handed over an exquisite porcelain teacup made in Jingdezhen. Lu Lixuan took it with both hands and took a sip. His eyes lit up and he smiled. Good tea. Authentic Priming Longjing tea. This water should be the tiger-running spring. I heard that when Grandpa Yi came to Beijing this time, he took a private plane for himself and used the other plane to carry spring water. He really knows how to enjoy life. How can I enjoy myself as much as you young people? The old man laughed and said, Young Su, the richest man in southern Min province. I've helped him once. He has a few acres of tea plantation in Lion Peak's Plum Dock. Every year, he would send some over. It can be considered a more authentic Longjing tea. Li Xuan, if you're interested in gathering your friends to pick tea, we can make it in time for preaching Ming tea. If you're too busy, you can wait for Guyu. Qingming and Guyu are both good seasons. Grandpa Ye's tea is good, the water is good, but Aunt Kai's tea ceremony is even better. Lu Lishuan glanced at the tea girl and said. The woman with the surname Kai smiled and said, Lishuan, if you want to drink tea, go to Jiangzhou more often. There's a lot of good tea and water there. The old man sipped his tea and casually commented, Little Kai's personality is too unyielding and impulsive. In martial arts, she's on par with Huqing Tian, Lin Zhenyu, and Wu Yingxiong. However, she's still a little lacking. That's why I didn't dare to let her expand all these years, and only let her stay in Jiangzhou and Zhonghai. If there were martial artists present, they would have cursed out loud. How could a weak woman be on par with the likes of Huqing Tian, Lin Zhenyu, and Wu Yingxiong? It was like a joke. However, Lu Lishuan had a higher opinion of Kai Zhijing. He smiled and said, Aunt Kai became a transcendent master in her 30s and became the underground queen of Jiangzhou. She's a hidden dragon in the abyss. If it weren't for old Master Yi, she would have dominated Wuxia long ago. Kai Zhijing smiled faintly and said, You flatter me, young Master Lu. I'm quite satisfied. Drinking tea and listening to songs in Jiangzhou is not a bad thing. Lu Lishuan suddenly rose to his feet and walked to the window. He looked down at the frozen Kunming Lake and said with a smile, Grandpa Yi, did the Yi Zhantian family have anything to say about your visit to Yanjin? The old man's eyelids twitched. He forced a smile and said, Yi Tianren asked us to seal off the mountain for 50 years. It's already over. Besides, I'm just a rich man now. I've never been involved in any martial arts competition. Besides, young Master Lu has invited me. What can Yi Zhantian do? If you ask me, Yi Zhantian must be afraid of your power. You are already an immortal state warrior. Yi Zhantian is only half a step away from immortal state. Lu Lishuan smiled and said, Back then, Yi Zhantian ranked you as the 5th Grandmaster in Wuxia on the divine roll. He even put Huqing Tian ahead of you. In fact, he was just a junior. What right did he have to judge you? Many people don't know that the Hong sect, the Qing gang, the Blue Cloth Society and the 9-story pagoda were the 4 major gangs in Wuxia. At that time, the Qing gang was so prosperous and glorious that even Du Yuexing and Wang Chongyan had to call you Young Dragon Head. Even Jiang Jianfeng had to bow to you and call you Grand Uncle. However, on the eve of the Battle of the River Crossing, Yi Tianren crossed the river with a single leaf, defeated the Green Gang, expelled the Blue Cloth Society, and destroyed the 9-story pagoda. He killed so many people and killed so many heroes. Wang Chongyan crossed the ocean and went to Singapore. The 9-story pagoda could only hole up in Bao Island. The Yi family could only swear to seal their mountain for 50 years and not set foot north of the Yellow River. For decades, you've been under others. Don't tell me you don't want to regain your glory? The old man's smile froze on his face. After a long silence, he shook his head and sighed. Lishuan, that's impossible. It's a new era and a new society. Let's not talk about those things anymore. People will laugh at us if they know about it. He seemed to be talking to himself. I didn't like drinking tea before, but after I tried it, I fell in love with it. Lishuan, look at this tea set. The teapot, the cups, the plates, the pans, the chopsticks and the crockery, not to mention the tedious process of brewing the tea. It's one step after another, and I have to take care of it carefully. It's just like fishing doesn't necessarily like eating fish. It's just that you enjoy the process. The old man was the lord of the Yi family, the 5th on the divine roll, and a martial arts tycoon who had dominated the Yangtze River Delta region for decades. I value results more than anything else. Lu Lishuan turned around and looked at Yi Wudao with a smile. His temperament has been honed, and his sharpness has also been worn away. What if I tell Elder Yi that this time, Zhang Qianlei is also prepared to come out and help us? Zhang Qianlei? The Heavenly Master sect of Dragon Tiger Mountain, the most powerful Dharma spell master in the world? Leaf Daodinier's eyes flickered with light that seemed almost corporeal. Zhang Qianlei and Yi Tianren used to be as famous as Yi Tianren in the north and Zhang Qianlei in the south. Yi Tianren was the best in martial arts, and Zhang Qianlei was the best in spells. However, the country paid more attention to science and got rid of the 4 olds. Zhang Qianlei didn't want to offend Guoguogua, so he closed his door. I heard that he had been living in Yanjin in recent years. It turns out that he's living in your family. The Lu family and the Song family took turns to worship him. Lu Lixuan smiled and said, if it weren't for the Lu family and the Song family, the Heavenly Master sect of Dragon Tiger Mountain would have been destroyed. That's why Celestial Master Zhang is so loyal to our Lu family and listens to everything we say. Now Yi Tianren is living in seclusion and no one knows if he's dead or alive. The Bai family is gone and the 6 martial arts families in Yanjin don't even have an immortal state warrior. They are nothing to worry about. Zhang Qianlei is already at the peak stage of his Dao body and has even seen the truth of a half-step mortal deity. With Mr. Ye's help and the help of the Lu family and the Song family, we can fight against the Huaxiaolong formation. Then we can dominate Yanjin and overlook Wuxia. Yi Zhantian is nothing to us. With you around, help me govern the Jiangxia area. We'll attack from both sides and take down Huaqingtian of the Central Plains. Then we'll be able to negotiate with the hidden sections. They can't do without the support of the secular world. Have you forgotten that Kong Teichu is in Yanjin right now? Yi Wudao said. As soon as he said this, Kai Zhijing, the underground queen of Jiangxia, suddenly shook her hand and the atmosphere in the tea room became solemn. Kong Teichu is either too lazy or too arrogant. He doesn't care about the mortal world. Lu Lixuan sneered. The Xia family, the Gu family and the Han family wanted to recruit Kong Teichu and hold the adjudicator ceremony to suppress the Lu family and the Song family. However, he refused and the matter was left unsettled. He doesn't know how to control his subordinates or how to help the people. In my opinion, he is just a boorish martial artist who can't be helped. And his carelessness is the best time for us to rise. Now is not the time to lose, old Master Yi. Leaf Dao Denier pondered for a moment, then suddenly stood up and spoke in a clear voice. Since Master Lei is willing to help Master Lu, and the Yi family and Xiaokai are under the protection of the Lu family and the Song family, I have no reason to refuse. I will attend the banquet tomorrow. Good. I will be waiting for you, old Master Yi. Lu Lixuan bowed deeply to show his gratitude. Leaf Dao Denier said his goodbyes and left in a very low-key blackouty. Master, are we really going to help Lu Lixuan? He wants us to give up the Huaxiaolong formation. Kai Zhijing asked after they were a kilometer away from the villa. Chapter 548. What can we do? Yi Wudao said calmly. Kong Teichu and Yi Zhantian are close friends. The Yi family has always been a thorn in Yi Zhantian's side. Sooner or later he will have to fight with us. Kong Teichu is the leader of the Heavenly Alliance, and all the overlords in the world have surrendered to him. Now that he has taken Yanjin, he is going to unify the underground world. Su Province is his base camp. It is like a sharp knife in the heart of the Yangtze River Delta. Also, both of our backgrounds aren't clean, and we're giving others a handle. If we don't side with Lu Lixuan, he can use his political power to destroy us with just a few words. What's more, Zhang Qianlei is the old monster. If Lu Lixuan wants to take Yanjin, how can Kong Teichu just stand by and watch? He is a ruthless man who kills people and exterminates families easily. Kai Zhijing said worriedly. Kong Teichu is already at the peak of the immortal state. Even the 2 living fossils of the Bai family are no match for him. I am afraid that if Yi Tianren and Hongming don't show up, only Zhang Qianlei, the best Dharma spellcaster in the world, can defeat him. A hint of apprehension appeared on Leaf Dao Denier's face. Zhang Qianlei used to be as famous as Yi Tianren. He had reached the phenomenal success level decades ago. Now he has been in seclusion for 50 years. I wonder how powerful he has become. Yi Wudao said confidently. The Lu family is the #1 family in the mortal world, and the Song family is ranked 3rd. They have their own influence and resources. Add to that Zhang Qianlei, an old monster who has been hiding in seclusion for a while, and the odds of winning against Jiang Taichu should be 50-50. We will act according to the situation. If Kong Teichu doesn't show up, we will support Lu Lixuan. But we will not fight with Kong Teichu. If he shows up, we will just sit back and watch the tigers fight. Yes. Kai Zhijing calmed down. The next day in the evening, Jiang Tian finished a day of cultivation and was eating with Qing'er and the others. Suddenly Gu Baixian called. Master Kong, Qingcheng has been injured. Who did it? Jiang Tian asked with a frown. I don't know. A group of people suddenly rushed into my house and asked me where I got the copy of the map from the ruins of immortality. Qingcheng and I didn't say a word, but the other party beat us up. Where are you now? I'll go take a look. Jiang Tian asked. Third People's Hospital. Jiang Tian drove as fast as lightning and soon arrived at the intensive care unit of the Third People's Hospital. On the hospital bed, Gu Qingcheng was wearing an oxygen mask. Her breathing was weak, and she was wrapped in gauze like a mummy. However, Jiang Tian's divine sense could see that the little girl was bruised all over. Her skin was torn and her flesh was exposed. There were also many comminuted fractures all over her body. Her originally tender and translucent little face had been slashed several times and was wrapped in gauze. Beside her, Zhang Yilin, Zhang Zhonghua, and Zhang Danfeng were also present. It's all my fault, it's all my fault. I couldn't recognize all of those words, so I asked a few ancient language experts. That must be why the news was leaked. I'm the one who killed my daughter. Gu Baixian sighed and said with tears in his eyes. The doctor said her spleen was ruptured and she lost too much blood. The doctor said there was no cure. Don't worry, old Gu. I can cure her. Jiang Tian removed Gu Qingcheng's oxygen mask and fed her a healing pill. He helped her up and placed his palms on her back, using his true essence to nourish her. Soon Gu Qingcheng woke up. As soon as she saw Jiang Tian, tears immediately fell from her eyes. She said weakly, Big brother Jiang Tian, we didn't say that you gave us the copy of the map from the ruins of immortality. Silly girl, even if you told them, they wouldn't be able to take it away from you. Jiang Tian said with a smile. No, I can't say. You saved my father's life. I can't be ungrateful. Gu Qingcheng smiled and fell asleep again. Qingcheng, Gu Baixian asked worriedly. Don't worry. Jiang Tian handed over 2 bottles of pills and said, Take this bottle internally and use this bottle externally. You should be healed in a week. Gu Baixian took the bottles gratefully. Who did it? Did you find out? Jiang Tian glared at Zhang Zhonghua, who was on the phone. Zhang Zhonghua quickly hung up and said with a frightened expression, I found out. It was the Song family. Song Shuangyan's Song family? Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with a strong murderous intent. He snorted coldly and said, Not bad. I haven't done anything to you, and you came to me first. You must be tired of living. He was about to use his divine sense to search for Song Shuangyan when his phone rang. It was Han Qingli. What's up? Jiang Tian asked impatiently. Jiang Master Kong. Feeling the murderous intent in Jiang Tian's voice, Han Qingli was so scared that her whole body trembled. She hurriedly said, Song Shuangyan is holding a birthday banquet at Pine Wave Villa tonight. She invited me. Do you want to go together? Well, this saves me the trouble of using my divine sense to search. Jiang Tian thought so and said coldly, Okay, come to the Third People's Hospital to pick me up. Tonight, Pine Wave Villa was brightly lit. A small banquet was being held in the front yard. Today's banquet was to celebrate the 29th birthday of the Song family's eldest daughter, Song Shuangyan. Song Shuangyan was wearing a custom-made red cheongsam from Rui Fuxiang. The slit revealed a section of her snow-white slender beautiful legs. She was wearing a pair of slender high heels. Her fine black hair was coiled behind her head with a priceless antique jade hairpin. Her elegant and refined little face was wearing light makeup. Her gaze was soft and rippling, and her smile was light and gentle. It made her look like a young lady from the Republic of China. Congratulations, Miss Song, happy birthday. May you live a long life. Around her, many young masters and ladies raised their wine glasses. Their eyes were full of reverence. They raised their wine glasses and congratulated her in unison. Among them there were young directors of listed companies, self-made billionaires, top executives of foreign investment banks, and financial elites of industry giants. They were all immaculately dressed and had an elegant demeanor. Many young masters and stars were involved in scandals. Now they were gathered together to celebrate the Queen of Yin Jing. Thank you everyone. Song Shuangyan was wearing white gloves. She raised a wine glass filled with scarlet red wine and took a sip. She smiled gracefully, but no one dared to argue with her. Song Shuangyan was the first daughter of the Song family. She was highly valued by the head of the Song family, Song Beishan. She was his right-hand man, and was almost certain to be the future successor of the Song family. Moreover, she was engaged to the first young master of the Liu family, Liu Lishuan. She was definitely going to be the mistress of the Liu family. Such a peerless beauty who controlled two families. Her status and influence were far beyond the sons of ordinary rich families. Even some of her uncles were suppressed. Who dared to offend her? Shuangyan, are you satisfied with the banquet this time? Next to her, a girl in a Prada business suit walked over and asked with a smile. Seeing this, the people around her made way for her. Because she was another one of the four beauties of Yanjing. She was the first daughter of the Li family. She was the chairman of the glamorous international, Li Yanmei. She was also the organizer of the banquet. Not bad. Song Shuangyan nodded. Then she looked at Lu Liwei behind her and said, Come, let's talk in the tea room for a while. Then she looked at her brother Song Poju and said lightly, Poju, help me entertain the guests first. Don't worry, go do your thing. Song Poju was 25 years old. He was wearing a button-long coat and old cloth shoes. However, he didn't look old at all. Instead, he looked more dignified and vigorous. His eyes were like lightning before he blinked. If there were any martial artists with sharp eyes here, they would be shocked. This person was actually at the peak of internal force cultivation. Song Shuangyan and the other two entered 3 big rooms together. Yanmei Luliwei, I need to see a few important people. Please wait for me. Li Yanmei and Lu Lishuan were left outside while Song Shuangyan walked into a secret room. Greetings, Miss Song. Immediately, a few powerful figures rose to their feet and bowed to Song Shuangyan respectfully. Mr. Shi, how is it? Song Shuangyan sat down. We have found the information you asked us to gather. The father and daughter of the Gu family have 3 photocopies of the incomplete maps of the ruins of deity. However, they are unwilling to tell us where the photocopies came from. The leader of the group looked ordinary, but he was a transcendent state cultivator. However, his aura was dark and gloomy like a venomous snake. Song Shuangyan's face flashed with a hint of displeasure. She said coldly, I know they have 3 photocopies. Mr. Shi hurriedly bowed and said, However, we have found out that Gu Baixian is Zhang Yilin's postgraduate tutor. Who is Zhang Yilin? Song Shuangyan furrowed her brows and asked. The Zhang family was one of the top 20 families in Yanjin. Zhang Yilin and Zhang Yuwei were not important enough for Song Shuangyan to know about them. What a coincidence. This Zhang Yilin is Jiang Tian's cousin. Mr. Shi said with a strange look on his face. So, Jiang Tian might have met Gu Baixian through Zhang Yilin? Song Shuangyan was taken aback. She was so excited that her hands trembled. Interesting. Looks like the Jiang family has more than one incomplete map of the ruins of deity. However, Miss Song, I suggest you stop your investigation and don't get on Jiang Tian's bad side. Mr. Shi furrowed his brows and said, This Mr. Jiang is not an ordinary person. Of course he is. Song Shuangyan sneered. He is the heir of the Medicine King Group. He can mobilize hundreds of billions of funds and his medical skills are impressive. He even defeated a doctor in South Korea last year. That is not what I meant, Miss Song. Mr. Shi shook his head and said. He seems to have another identity. If he is really that guy, then we are in big trouble. What identity? Song Shuangyan looked at Mr. Shi. He might be a martial artist. According to our investigation, he seems to be closely related to Kong Taechu. All the clues point to the same conclusion. Mr. Shi's face hardened as fear crept onto his face. He is the martial arts adjudicator, Kong Taechu. Aha! Mr. Shi, you are too nervous. Song Shuangyan was taken aback at first. Then, she held her stomach and let out a peal of laughter. A peak-level immortal state warrior, number 3 on the dark roll, number 1 on the divine roll of Wuxia, the leader of the Heavenly Alliance, and the martial arts adjudicator, Kong Taechu. Could he be Jiang Tian? Chapter 549. The smile on Song Shuangyan's face faded, but the coldness and disdain became more obvious. Mr. Shi, you may not know this, but a few years ago, I was engaged to this young master of the Jiang family. I know him too well. This person is an ignorant and incompetent good-for-nothing. He doesn't even have the strength to truss up a chicken. He spends his days indulging in wine, women, avarice, and anger. His body has long been shivering. He's even worse than a girl. She couldn't help but laugh. At that time, he wanted to show off his masculinity in front of me. He dragged me to the basketball court to watch him play basketball. He was out of breath after running a few steps. After an hour of playing, he only scored 3 goals. He was so angry that he even fought with someone, but he was beaten to the point where he had to kneel and beg for mercy. You say that this kind of trash is Kong Taechu? What a joke. Miss Song, you may not know. Mr. Shi was anxious. He wanted to say something, but Song Shuangyan interrupted him. Mr. Shi, didn't you say that the mission is difficult and you want to raise the price? Song Shuangyan smiled coldly. I've already given you 100 million. That's a sky-high price. In Yanjing, or even in the entire Wuxia, you are the first one who dares to bargain with me. At that moment, her face darkened. Her eyes were cold and murderous. She was no longer as gentle as she was in front of the public. She emitted a monstrous pressure that made Mr. Shi, who was at the peak of internal force, feel a little scared. She was the daughter of the Song family, the Yanjing's female Zhuge. Miss Song, you misunderstood me. I wouldn't dare. Mr. Shi quickly bowed. If that's the case, then continue the investigation. You may leave. Song Shuangyan waved her hand. Also, don't tell anyone about my engagement to Jiang Tian. Master Lu will not be happy if he knows about it. Yes. Mr. Shi sighed deeply. He put on his sunglasses and walked out with his subordinates. What happened to Li Wei this time? Did he fall into the hands of the Red Wall internal guards? A moment later, Lu Liwei and Li Yanmei were called into the tea room. Song Shuangyan sipped her tea and asked calmly. Later, I asked around and found out that the boss of the beautiful restaurant is Jiang Tian's friend. Li Yanmei said gloomily. Last night, Zhang Zhonghua personally gave the order to investigate the Heavenly Earth, Great Joy, and several other places. Wei Sin hasn't come out yet. He had lost at least 1 billion yuan in one night. You have shares in this too. Jiang Tian again. Strange. Why would the Zhang family offend the Li family, the Song family, and the Lu family for him? A thought flashed through Song Shuangyan's mind, but she immediately rejected it. The Zhang family is getting bolder and bolder. Don't they know the background of these places? No matter what, Jiang Tian is Zhang Zhonggua's nephew. It's not strange that Zhang Zhonggua would attack you in order to avenge him. The Medicine King group is no longer what it used to be. Sister-in-law, how can he get Yuan Lei to help him? Lu Liwei asked with a frown. He might not be a powerful master if he can get the support of the internal guards. There are many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in Sijio City. Don't worry too much. Song Shuangyan was silent for a moment and said lightly. With your brother backing him, what are you afraid of? At most, you can ask your brother to talk to the leaders. Just follow your father's instructions and don't mess around. When the storm is over, it will be over. Besides, this is the time when Li Xuan is in power. Don't lose the big picture for the small things. Yanmei also suspended the operation. It's just a few 100 million yuan. It's not interesting. Sister-in-law, he slapped me twice last night. I will avenge him no matter what. Lu Liwei touched his bruised and swollen cheek and said fiercely, gnashing his teeth. You think he's your opponent? Is that all you've got? Song Shuangyan teased and then comforted him with a doting tone. Don't worry, just bear with it. In less than a month, I'll remove the Jiang family from Wuxia. At that time, you can do whatever you want to him. Destroy a family with a market value of hundreds of billions in a month. It sounded unbelievable, but Li Yanmei and Lu Liwei thought it was natural. The Song family is Yanjing's third-ranked family. As the family's most valued daughter, Song Shuangyan has the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. With one word, she can destroy a business tycoon as easily as waving a horsetail whisk. I still want the shares of beautiful heaven. This company is too powerful and has high growth potential. Li Yanmei smiled. At this time Lu Liwei's phone rang. He answered and said with a smile, "Sister-in-law, go cut the cake. Everyone is waiting for you." How boring. Song Shuangyan got up helplessly. She wanted to build the Song family into a martial arts family. She didn't care about the rich and famous people of the secular world. If it wasn't for Li Yanmei's hard work, she wouldn't have cared. However, the Song family rose from the secular world after all, so they couldn't do without the support of these forces. When Song Shuangyan came to the courtyard again, a burst of firecrackers sounded. Fireworks shot up into the sky from the bank of Kunming Lake, like 1,000 trees blooming in the east wind. The ban on fireworks in Yanjing started in 1993. Of course, for these rich and famous families, it wasn't worth mentioning. In the midst of the happy birthday, a 2-meter-tall cake with more than 10 layers was pushed out by a chef in a white top hat. The cake was filled with truffles, chocolates, fruits, and so on. Song Shuangyan cut the cake, proposed a toast, and said, "Enjoy, everyone." Then, she walked into the mysterious and high-end backyard, and entered the Songtao Pavilion. There was a secret meeting waiting for her. Alas, Lu Lishuan is here today. She should be discussing how to deal with the Jiang family. But how do you know how powerful Kong Teichu is? Seeing this, Mr. Shi stood alone in the corner and couldn't help but sigh. While the business banquet was being held, a red Lamborghini stopped at the entrance of the club. Jiang Tian pushed the door open and got out of the car. He stared at the building that was like a luminous pearl on Kunming Lake. In a flash, his spiritual sense covered the building, and nothing could hide. Jiang Tian quickly sensed Song Shuangyan's presence. In addition, there were Mr. Shi and a few other warriors, as well as 2 sorcerers who had entered the mystic realm. But how could these people enter Jiang Tian's eyes? "Let's go." Jiang Tian's lips curled into a cold smile, and his right arm was slightly opened. "Jiang, Master Kong, can I?" Han Qingli, one of the 4 beauties of Yanjing, was so excited that her face blushed. She boldly held Jiang Tian's arm. With Han Qingli's invitation, Jiang Tian was unimpeded. Under the guidance of a beautiful servant, he walked into the courtyard leisurely. At this moment, Jiang Tian was not in a hurry. His spiritual sense had already locked onto Song Shuangyan. She could not escape even if she wanted to. Then let's play with them slowly. Today, I will step on the entire Yanjing and wash away the shame of the past. Miss Han is here. TSK, Miss Song's birthday banquet is unprecedented. The 4 beauties of Yanjing are here. Why does she have a date? Usually, she is accompanied by Han Junfeng and Han Junkai when she attends events. As soon as Han Qingli arrived, she immediately attracted the attention of many rich young masters. They all looked sideways at her, and many men almost drooled. The Han family controlled the energy mining industry in Wuxia, and they were worth hundreds of millions. Han Qingli was Han Dao's favorite daughter. Han Qingli was also one of the 4 beauties of Yanjing. Her figure and appearance were first class. At this time, she had put on exquisite makeup and wore a black low-cut evening gown. She wore a dazzling diamond necklace, which made her look even more radiant. She was like a black rose, radiant, elegant, charming, and seductive. Many men were drooling. They all wanted to pluck this proud rose and wantonly desecrate and ravage it. TSK Qingli, your boyfriend is quite handsome. A beautiful girl in a white evening gown walked over and asked with a smile. She was pure and charming, and could be said to be an enchanting disaster. The 4 beauties of Yanjing each had their own strengths. Song Shuangyan was the most eye-catching of the 4 beauties in terms of background, status, and ability. Li Yanmei's background was slightly inferior, but she was smooth and slick with connections. She relied on Song Shuangyan, and controlled the #1 female products brand in Wuxia. Han Qingli was the first daughter of the Han family. She was backed by the Han family that was immersed in monopolizing the industry. She was now the vice president of the Goldneng Group, and was known as the Goldneng Queen. She would control at least 1 or 2 state-owned enterprises in the future. But she was still slightly inferior to Song Shuangyan. And the one in front of them was Xiaolin, who could be on par with Han Qingli. She was the daughter of the second most powerful family in the world, the Xia family. She had a great influence in the domestic financial industry. She was once the person in charge of Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan Chase in Wuxia, 2 barrels of oil for banks, and many other companies in Wuxia listed in the US and Hong Kong. She was known as the financial queen of Yanjing. That's right. It's my new boyfriend. Han Qingli was slightly stunned at first. Then she straightened her chest and said proudly. She knew that Jiang Tian didn't like her at all. She wasn't even qualified to be Jiang Tian's servant girl. But at this moment she still didn't deny it. At least she could satisfy her own fantasy. Hiss. Han Qingli's new boyfriend, who can take the top spot of the Gold Queen. It's over. Song Poju has no chance this time. His head is greener than the prairie. As soon as these words came out, many of the men present looked at Jiang Tian with envy and jealousy. Fuck isn't this guy? How can he make Han Qingli like him? Especially Song Poju, who stood up and looked at Jiang Tian with a flash of anger. It's really a new boyfriend. He doesn't look familiar. Introduce him to me. Which ministry leader's son is he from? Or which family's son is he from? Xiaolin asked curiously. My name is Jiang Tian, the young master of the Medicine King Group. Jiang Tian smiled and took a glass of champagne from the waiter's tray and took a sip. The young master of the Medicine King Group, not bad. Congratulations, young master Jiang. Congratulations, Qingli. When the time comes for the wedding, you must invite me. Xiaolin raised her glass and praised, but there was a flash of mockery and disdain in the depths of her eyes. In the eyes of most people, the Jiang family of the Medicine King Group was definitely a wealthy family. But in Xiaolin's eyes, it was nothing. Her friends were all rich tycoons like Morgan Rockefeller, Mitsui, and the like. Their assets were as high as hundreds of billions of dollars. It seemed that Han Qingli's failure to get engaged with Lu Lixuan was a huge blow to her. Her mind was in a mess, and she couldn't be picky. Chapter 550. Of course. Han Qingli's smile was as beautiful as a blooming flower. She was too engrossed in her role, so beautiful that her little head was dizzy and dazed. If she could marry Jiang Tian, that would be great. Jiang Tian, no wonder you are so arrogant. No wonder you could get Zhang Zhonghua to investigate me and get Yuan Lei to help you. You are on Han Qingli's side. Suddenly, a voice filled with disdain was heard. The crowd parted like a tide. Lu Liwei, who was wearing a decent suit made by an old Italian tailor, walked over with a majestic gait. He looked at Jiang Tian arrogantly and sneered. You have always liked to climb up the social ladder since you were young. The Song family broke off the engagement, and now you are on Han Qingli's side. Looks like you are a gigolo. I heard that the Zhang family had investigated a few of young Master Lu's places last night. So it was this guy who did it in the dark. Someone suddenly came to a realization and let out a cry of surprise. He is courting death. Does he think he can defeat the Lu family by relying on the Han family? He is way out of his league. He is just a bumpkin from another city. How dare he provoke the top young master of Yanjin? He doesn't know how deep the water is in Yanjin. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian with disdain, wondering how he would react. Even if Jiang Tian was Han Dao's son-in-law, he would not be able to defeat the young master of the Lu family. Even Han Junfeng was not as powerful as him. In their opinion, Jiang Tian asking the Zhang family to investigate Lu Liwei's places was tantamount to digging his own grave. What bullshit, young Master Lu. He is just a bumpkin that I can kill with one slap. Jiang Tian sipped his champagne and sneered without even lifting his eyelids. I asked you to pass a message to Song Shuangyan. Have you delivered it? She owes me something and it is time for her to return it to me. Hearing this, everyone's face darkened. Lu Liwei was so angry that his body trembled. His eyes were as sharp as a knife. The Lu family was the most powerful political and business family in Yanjin. When had Lu Liwei ever been humiliated in public? Li Yanmei stepped forward in her high heels and snapped. Han Qingli, is this how your boyfriend treats young Master Lu? Unexpectedly, Han Qingli looked at Jiang Tian's side profile with an intoxicated look and said, I'll listen to my husband. Whatever he says is what it is. Isn't that the trash from the Jiang clan? Back then, when he saw me, he was so humble, as if he was a slave. Li Yanmei scolded him in her heart. She crossed her arms and took a step forward. She raised her eyebrows and said coldly, "What? Do you think you're so great just because you're a member of the Han family? Do you think you're all grown up now? Little bastard. Do you know that I have shares in heavenly earth? You let Zhang Zhongguo ruin my business. I will not rest until you are dead." "Who is she?" Jiang Tian looked at her in surprise. "Hubby, her name is Li Yanmei. She's the legitimate daughter of the Li family in Beijing, and also the chairman of Qingqing International." Han Qingli introduced in a coquettish voice. "Oh, it's Miss Li. Miss Li, are you sick?" Jiang Tian suddenly said with a dignified face. "How dare you scold me?" Li Yanmei was furious. No, no, no. You have a serious gynecological disease, cervical erosion or something, and some of it is very contagious." Jiang Tian said with a serious face. "Don't hide the disease for fear of treatment. If you need, I can give you some elixirs to guarantee that the disease will be cured." "No way. I just slept with this woman. No wonder I felt a little itchy." In an instant, at least a dozen men at the scene were startled, revealing a few traces of fear. Li Yanmei's private life is extremely debauched. I heard that several Wuxia and several top male models and stars have been kept by her. What young Master Jiang said is very likely. Although the Jiang clan is not a top family, they are still good in medicine. This guy has defeated a choreo doctor before. There were also some men whispering and discussing with complicated expressions. You're slandering me." Sensing the slightly mocking eyes of the crowd, Li Yanmei's pretty face was red with shame. She pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted angrily, "If you don't believe me, you can press 3 inches below your navel. You'll feel a lot of pain in your lower abdomen." Jiang Tian said indifferently, "If I'm not sick, don't blame me for being rude to you." Li Yanmei put her finger on her lower abdomen and pretended to press, but she did not have any strength at all. Suddenly, an uncontrollable urge to pee surged up. Her thigh became hot and she peed uncontrollably. Look, she actually peed." The group of rich young masters and socialites exclaimed one after another. "She thinks she's so great just because she has Song Shuangyan. She's always showing off. This time, when this is posted on Weibo, she'll be embarrassed to death." There were even ladies who were not on good terms with Li Yanmei who secretly took out their mobile phones to take pictures. It seems that Yanmei is seriously ill. Not only do you have gynecological disease, but you also have a problem with losing control of your urine. Han Qingli kindly reminded. Bastard. Li Yanmei was so angry that her whole body trembled. However, she could not control her urge to pee. Half a minute later, there was still liquid flowing down. There were obvious water stains on the ground. What made her feel ashamed and angry was that there was no sign of it stopping. "Jiang, I won't let you off." Seeing that there were more and more onlookers, Li Yanmei fiercely glared at Jiang Tian. Then, she turned around with hatred and ran away. However, the wet area between her legs was mixed with a fishy smell. It made her want to die. Moreover, every step she took left a footprint on the cement floor. She could only rush into a dressing room to wash up and change her clothes. This kid seems a little strange. Song Poja's face froze. He took out his mobile phone and called Song Shuangyan. Songtao Pavilion was located on a mountain peak. It was brightly lit, as bright as day, and there was a hubbub of voices. Few people came to the Song family's manor. It was estimated that it had not been as lively as it was today for decades. "Boss Li, you're here too. Hee, who dares not to come to Miss Song's birthday party? Otherwise, if old Master Beishan gets angry, won't we be beaten?" "Haha, Boss Zhang, you must be joking." However, the Song family has not held this kind of banquet for decades. The last time was when the 4th generation of the Song family was born. Many guests whispered to each other as they handed in their invitations and took their seats. The Song family of Yanjing was the 3rd largest political and business family. Their ancestor once had a great leader sitting within the Red Wall. Now that the Song family and the number 1 family, the Lu family, were connected by marriage, their power was even greater. Compared to the guests at the banquet in the front yard, the guests here were obviously more mature. Almost all of them were the top tycoons in Wuxia. 70 to 80% of the rich people in Yanjing and Zhonghai were here. I wonder why the Song family is holding this banquet this time? It shouldn't be as simple as Miss Song's birthday party, right? Someone asked. It seems that young Master Lu Lixuan wants to say something to us. Someone frowned and said with a serious face. When the name Lu Lixuan came out, everyone's pupils contracted, and a hint of fear appeared in their eyes. Lu Lixuan was the most outstanding young man in Yanjing. Rumor had it that he had registered an overseas fund and controlled dozens of giant companies. He was the biggest invisible tycoon in Wuxia. Only the tip of the iceberg was revealed, but it was already terrifying enough. It was far more powerful than many tycoons present. If they really showed their true colors, even though they were still not as powerful as Morgan Rockefeller and Morgan in the United States, they would be on par with the super tycoons such as Mitsui and Mitsubishi in Japan, the Xinghua family in South Korea, and the Guo family in Singapore. Look. The family leaders of the Song family, Lu family, Nya family and Feng family are here. Today's banquet is full of dignitaries and dignitaries. Everyone was startled and looked at the door. Surrounded by many family heads, a young man walked over with a majestic gait. He had short hair that was neatly combed, sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. His skin shone with a strange luster, and he had a natural aura of nobility. Surrounded by so many important figures like stars surrounding the moon, when this young man appeared, the entire younger generation seemed to be overshadowed by this person's brilliance. His aura is very similar to Jiang Tian's. Is the Prince of Yanjing also a cultivator? Among the crowd, a girl in a red evening gown with a snow-white beautiful back was slightly surprised and asked. This girl was Yuan Ning, whom Jiang Tian had met twice in South Korea and Japan. In a short time, the giant egg network she had invested in had become the top e-commerce company in Wuxia. She had also taken control of Japan's SoftBank Group and became the new queen of finance in Wuxia. She was also very close to Song Shuangyan, so she was invited to this banquet. No, he is still a bit immature compared to Jiang Tian. Just by standing there, Jiang Tian is like a primordial godly king propping up the heavens and earth. As for him, in the end he still needs to be set off by others and his family background. He is still a little lacking. Chen Jiafu, who was wearing a decent suit, shook his head and said softly. After meeting Jiang Tian, he had realized how big the world was. He had become more mature, and he had the demeanor of a tycoon in the e-commerce industry. I am Yi Haochen. I am also young Master Lu's representative in the secular world. At this moment Yi Haochen, who was next to Lu Lixuan, smiled. My friends in Yanjing should know young Master Lu, but my friends in Zhonghai might not. Let me introduce. This is the Prince of Yanjing, young Master Lu. The famous young lord of the Yi family was willing to serve Lu Lixuan at his beck and call. Seeing this, many tycoons, celebrities and family lords in Wuxia were startled and bowed to young Master Lu. I heard that Yi Haochen has been transferring his business to Yanjing over the past year. He's been spending money like water, and his connections are everywhere. He's doing well. See, behind Yi Haochen are a few tycoons in Zhonghai. Looks like young Master Lu has taken control of Zhonghai. No, not only that. He has control of the entire Yangtze River Delta. Someone suddenly saw an old man in an azure robe on the other side of young Master Lu. His hair and beard were white, but his aura was as steady as a mountain and his eyes were as sharp as swords. This is the Grandmaster of Martial Arts, Yi Wudao. Yi Wudao had been in seclusion for 50 years and only came out half a month ago. He is now young Master Lu's right-hand man. Yi Haochen's expression was slightly stern. He cupped his hands slightly and introduced the green-robed elder to everyone. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place fell into dead silence. Chapter 551. I am an old man, Yi Wudao. Please take good care of me. Clasping hands respectfully, Leaf Daodinier took a step forward, looking like an ancient god spirit. Psychic pressure rolled out, causing the hearts of everyone present to pound as if they were in the presence of a god. Yi Wudao is a veteran grandmaster. He is as famous as Huqing Tian. someone said in a trembling voice. Legend had it that Yi Wudao used to be the young lord of the Qing gang. He had been a grandmaster since the time of the Republic of China. Back in Zhonghai, he was able to drink with Huang Jinrong and Du Yuesheng. After the founding of the nation, Leaf Dao Denier went into seclusion. However, he continued to rule the Yangtze River Delta region for decades. His words carried enormous weight, and many powerful experts acknowledged allegiance to him. Yi Haochen cracked a smile and said, "You are wrong. Mr. Yi was able to defeat Wang Chongyan of the Blue Cloth Society during the time of the Republic of China. He is as powerful as Miyamoto Genichi, the leader of the Hong sect, and Wang Chongyan of the Blue Cloth Society. Hu Qingtian is just Mr. Ye's junior. Moreover, Mr. Yi has been in seclusion for many years and has been cultivating diligently. Now that he has broken out of seclusion, he has stepped into the true deity realm. How can Hu Qingtian compare to him?" At this moment, Yi Haochen no longer had the desolate and panicked appearance he had when he was trampled by Jiang Tian in Singapore. Instead, he regarded himself as Lu Lishuan's spokesperson, high and mighty, beaming with joy and complacency. "What? Mr. Yi is an immortal state warrior?" Everyone was shocked to hear this, and didn't dare to believe their ears. As they looked at Leaf Dao Denier, fear grew in their eyes. Immortal state phenomenal success? That meant he was only one step away from Kong Teichu, the adjudicator. This kind of person who had the power to destroy heaven and earth was actually willing to be Lu Lishuan's right-hand man and serve him? Understood. Understood. Chen Jiafu clenched his fists and whispered into Yuan Ning's ear. Mr. Jiang rose to power in Lingnan province. He was like a sharp knife in the Yangtze River Delta. Yi Haochen and the other families in Zhonghai couldn't even raise their heads. Therefore, they have to suck up to the Song family. That's right. I received news that Jiang has already become an adjudicator. Yuan Ning's beautiful face turned pale. She frowned and said in a low voice, "I'm afraid that's not what the Song clan and Lu clan want to see." So he immediately joined forces with Jiangzhe's Leaf Dao Denier. At this moment, Lu Lishuan finally spoke. "Everyone, Huaxia's enterprises are still weak and small. They are not concentrated enough, and there is a lot of disorderly competition." Lu Lishuan looked down at the crowd of heroes and calmly said, "What we need to be even more vigilant about is that imperialism has not disappeared. Instead, it is a powerful camp made up of politicians, monopolies, and investment banks that uses values and culture as a disguise and financial currency as a weapon. They have replaced traditional wars and are attacking cities all over the world to plunder wealth. The international capital used the Plaza Accord to attack Japan in 1989, created the Asian financial crisis in 1997, defeated Thailand, suffered heavy losses in Hong Kong, and defeated Vietnam in 2008. Their industrial capital and financial capital are like vultures hovering over the world, nibbling away at enterprises and even countries. And Huaxia is undoubtedly their biggest and final enemy. Defeating Huaxia will be the biggest jewel on the crown of these bloodthirsty warriors. They will win this war with incomparable patience and the most exquisite skills. This war has already begun. Look at how many Huaxia enterprises have been bought over in recent years, and their brands have been destroyed. It's shocking. These words were just a cliché and no one took it seriously. However, Lu Lishuan's next words made everyone jump in shock, and their hearts were in turmoil. "Everyone, the rise and fall of a country is the responsibility of everyone. In the face of this situation, as the descendants of Yan Huang, we have to take action. I've gathered everyone here to consolidate the power of the chambers of commerce in Huaxia and strengthen our unity." Lu Lishuan's clear voice spread throughout the entire hall and shocked everyone. "My Revitalization Foundation will spend 1 trillion yuan to symbolically buy some shares of your companies and form a unified national business alliance. The Renaissance Business Alliance." Lu Lishuan didn't decline his responsibility. He acted freely and confidently. And once the Renaissance Alliance is formed, whether it's a war with America's Rockefeller, Morgan, and DuPont, or against the 4 conglomerates in Japan, the Russian oil oligarchs, etc., we will have the power to negotiate and fight, so that our Huaxia enterprises will have a place in the world. What? As soon as these words came out, The entire hall was in an uproar. There were chambers of commerce in all parts of Wuxia, but they were only mutual aid organizations. There was no equity dispute between the enterprises and the chambers of commerce, and they still maintained independent operations. But Lu Lixuan actually wanted to establish the Wuxia Renaissance Alliance and control hundreds of top enterprises. This rhythm. He was going to be the godfather of Wuxia enterprises and the leader of the martial arts world. Buy shares? How much? Will the price be fair? Moreover, my company has plenty of funds and I don't need external investors. Do I have the right to refuse? Below the stage, Chen Jiafu mustered up his courage and asked. In addition, the Renaissance Alliance will also provide political and personal protection and support to everyone. As if he didn't hear Chen Jiafu's question, Lu Lixuan didn't even look at him. He said in a deep voice, "For a long time, the development of property protection has been lagging behind. Once you become a member of the Renaissance Alliance, I can assure you that at least you will be safe in Wuxia." What young Master Lu said makes sense. I will be the first to support it. A voice sounded, and a middle-aged man with a smile on his face and an extraordinary bearing walked in through the door. The richest man in Wuxia, the real estate mogul, Su Tianyun. Didn't something happen to his family? They're being investigated. Why did he come back to Yanjin? Seeing this, Chen Jiafu, Yuan Ning and the other tycoons and family leaders were shocked and couldn't believe it. Before this, the Su family was set up by evil people and was in danger. But with young Master Lu's help, the Su family's assets were saved. Su Tianyun announced to everyone. He then bowed to Lu Lixuan and said in the most respectful tone he had ever used in his life. Now that young Master Lu has established the China Renaissance Alliance to attract international capital and invest in the business environment, it will greatly boost China's economy. Its far-reaching impact is no less than the Shaogang village and the reform. I, Su Tianyun, will be the first to support it. This person was spouting nonsense, as if he wanted to praise Lu Lixuan to the heavens. Everyone's face was solemn, and they all had their own thoughts. Kong Taichu is too ruthless. I offended him, and that's why I was attacked by the Qin family. Thanks to young Master Lu and Miss Song, I was able to save my assets. Su Tianyun said gratefully. So the Su family offended Kong Taichu? Someone exclaimed. That's right. Kong Taichu crippled my son. How ruthless. Su Tianyun gritted his teeth and complained tearfully. His words were full of flowery lotus flowers and heavenly flowers. In his words, Jiang Taichu was a temperamental, ambitious, cruel, merciless, inhumane, murderous, and heinous tyrant. That's too scary. If Kong Taichu controls Yanjin, won't we be living in fire and water? The more the crowd listened, the more frightened they became. They felt that Kong Taichu wasn't easy to get along with. And they also felt that it was necessary to rely on the Wuxia Renaissance Alliance. The richest man in Wuxia, Su Tianyun, the Yichida family, Shi family, Shang family, Yi Wudao Kaijijing Lu family, Song family, Lu family, and Liao family of Yanjin. Among the top 10 families, only the Han family isn't here. With this lineup, I'm afraid they can really establish the Wuxia Renaissance Alliance. Someone exclaimed. Xiaohu, with young Lord Lu's guidance, I'm afraid it will work. In the crowd, an old man in a tang suit with an extraordinary temperament sipped his tea and said in a deep voice, Don't worry. Have you forgotten where we are? This is the Lu family's residence, and the Lu family has an old monster in charge. Despite his words, there was a glint of worry in his eyes. Old man Zhou, are you talking about? Heavenly Master Zhang? The man called Xiao, who was getting more and more frightened, as if he had seen a demon. Old man Zhou was also an influential figure in Yanjin. The Zhou family was one of the top 20 families in Yanjin, and they had developed around him. However, if even he felt that he couldn't stop the formation of the alliance, it was obvious that the formation of the alliance was unstoppable. Seeing that more and more people were surrendering to the Wuxia Renaissance Alliance, Yi Haochen clapped his hands and laughed. The Crown Prince is indeed powerful. With Su Kaiyun's help, Yanjin will be conquered in no time. Lu Lixuan sat there with a smile and didn't say anything. The power of the Song family and the Lu family isn't something you can imagine. On the side, Song Shuangyan proudly smiled. Then a trace of coldness flashed through her eyes as she said, "However, we have to thank Kong Taichu for suppressing Yan Jin this time. He killed people several times and made people panic. That's why we feel that it's necessary to rely on the Wuxia Renaissance Alliance. The Bai family and the Six families are the remaining forces of the Republic of China. When did it become their turn to guard Yan Jin?" Lu Lixuan snorted and said, "The Lu family and the Song family are the real heroes. This time, Kong Taichu and the Bai family have lost a lot of energy. This is the time for us to rise. After the formation of the Wuxia Renaissance Alliance, we will have firm control over the political and business world, and will be able to suppress Kong Taichu and the Six families. Next, we will gather our forces and make friends with the hidden sections. We will kill Kong Taichu and the Six families." "But Kong Taichu is an immortal state warrior," Yi Haochen said with a hint of fear. Su Tianyan and the others also froze after hearing what Lu Lixuan said. Kong Taichu was like a sword of Damocles hanging over their heads. They were worried that he would fall at any time, which made them unable to eat or sleep in peace. His intentions were obvious. Lu Lixuan established the Wuxia Renaissance Alliance to make use of his strengths and avoid his weaknesses. He used his strength in the mortal world to fight against adjudicator Jiang Taichu. However, if he joined the Wuxia Renaissance Alliance, he would probably incur the wrath of Jiang Taichu, which would make things difficult for him. Song Shuangyan, who was standing next to Lu Lixuan, smirked and said, "Mr. Zhang Qianlei has been in charge of the Song family for many years. This time, he will also come out to protect you. Mr. Zhang is already at the peak of his Dao body. Even Kong Taichu has to give him some face. Otherwise, how could Su Tianyan return to Yan Jin?" Chapter 552. "That's right," Lu Lixuan said with disdain. "Kong Taichu killed Hao Hongmei, which offended the Mount Shu sword sect. Hao Hongmei is the sister of the Mount Shu sword sect. How long do you think Kong Taichu will last?" In fact, this was the main reason why Lu Lixuan dared to establish the Renaissance Alliance under Jiang Tian's command. He thought that Jiang Tian had to deal with the revenge of the Mount Shu sword sect, and had too many enemies to care about the mortal world. This was the perfect opportunity for Lu Lixuan. Of course. Su Tianyan, Yi Haochen and other family lords nodded. Jiang Taichu was at the God Realm peak stage, so it was not good to offend him. But so was Zhang Qianlei. Moreover, he was more senior and stronger. The Lu family and the Song family were more powerful than Kong Taichu in the mortal world. Besides, Lu Lixuan and Song Shuangyan might have the support of the Mount Shu sword sect and many other hidden sections. Under such circumstances, who would still cling to the thigh of that arrogant, temperamental, and short-lived brat? Seeing that one tycoon after another had pledged their loyalty to Lu Lixuan, Yuan Ning felt bitter. "Jiafu, these tycoons are too naive." Yuan Ning shook his head and said, "Jiang, if Mr. Jiang is a god, then Lu Lixuan and Song Shuangyan are the demons who run amok in the mortal world." "I understand." Chen Jiafu's forehead was covered with cold sweat. "If the Renaissance Alliance is established, the new families and tycoons will be at their mercy. We won't be able to fight back. Not only them, but the tycoons and family lords such as Lord Zhou and Xiao, who also frowned. The Song family and the Lu family already had the power of heaven and earth. With the help of Yi Wudao and Yi Haochen and the new families and tycoons led by Su Tianyan, no one had the power to turn the tables. Sure enough, after that, the Xia family, Ge family, Long family, and several other top family heads arrived one after another. But in the face of Lu Lixuan, who had the power of heaven and earth, the major families in Yanjin either expressed their willingness to join the Wuxia Renaissance Alliance on the spot or congratulated Lu Lixuan. They didn't dare to go against Lu Lixuan and Zhang Qianlei. Alas, the general trend is already set. Who can turn the tide? Chen Jiafu sighed dejectedly. That's right. The Lu clan and the Song clan's plans are too far-reaching. Yuan Ning sighed and shook his head. Suddenly, she glanced at the front yard and saw Li Yinmei beating her chest and stamping her feet as she ran away. When she saw the man's appearance clearly, she couldn't help but tremble violently, her eyes filled with ecstasy. He actually came. Heavens! He's actually here. Chen Jiafu turned to look at the front yard as a hint of surprise appeared on the corner of his mouth. I didn't expect him to react so quickly. Beside him, Elder Zhou asked worriedly, Brother Fu, how can you still laugh? Who's here? A big shot, an earth-shattering big shot. Chen Jiafu pointed at the front yard and said with a smile, This is the person you've been longing to see. You mean, he is here? Elder Zhou's face was suddenly shocked. His eyes were bursting with fanaticism as he looked at the back of the figure in the front yard. In Wuxia, among the younger generation, he was the only one who was qualified to wrestle with Lu Lishuan, and the only one who could suppress the Renaissance alliance of Wuxia, the adjudicator of martial arts. Kong Teichu. In the front yard. After Li Yanmei left, a young master who looked very prudent and smart walked over quickly and said coldly, Young Master Jiang, you said that Song Shuangyan owes you something. What is it? Liao Yinchuan. As soon as this person appeared, some of the young masters and ladies present looked at him with favor, as if they were looking at their idol. The Liao clan was not a first-tier clan in Yanjing, and should be outside the top 10. However, Liao Yunchuan's father was a member of the government council, and could completely suppress Zhang Zhonggua. Liao Yunchuan's words carried a lot of weight in Sijio City. A phone call could mobilize a large number of military and police forces. An incomplete map and 50 million. Jiang Tian said lightly. 7 years ago, I was engaged to Song Shuangyan and gave these to her as a betrothal gift. But later, the Song clan broke off the engagement and didn't return these to me. It's not appropriate no matter whether it's emotional or legal. 50 million. I don't want it, but the incomplete map must be returned to me. What a joke, a big joke. Liao Yinchuan said sarcastically. The Song clan has hundreds of billions of assets. Why would they care about 50 million and a broken antique painting? Why would they want to take it from you? Besides, words alone are no proof. Is there anyone who notarizes these? Is there a bank statement? Is there a receipt? Liao Yunchuan's words were like a sword and he kept asking questions. Seeing that Jiang Tian was unable to answer, a mocking smile appeared on his face as he said, You don't have anything, yet you came here to ask for money without any proof. Then, can I say that you owe me 100 billion and give me all of your family's shares? As soon as he said that, the entire hall burst into laughter. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian, as if they were looking at an idiot. You're just a country bumpkin. How dare you cause trouble in Beijing? You don't know your place. Look at his stupid face. Even young Master Liao is a fool. Liao Yunchuan works for the Supreme People's Procuratorate, and he has always been a prosecutor. What a sharp tongue. Someone shook his head and praised. Humph. You think you can survive in Yanjin? You won't be able to survive more than 3 episodes. Even Lu Liwei smirked. Liao Yinchuan took a sip of champagne and said coldly, Miss Han, Mr. Jiang, you have seriously disrupted the order of the banquet. You are not welcome here. Please leave. Han Qingli was furious and said coldly, I have Song Shuangyan's invitation. Who do you think you are to kick us out? Lu Lishuan is in a meeting. Do you want to offend him? Do you have a death wish? Liao Yunchuan looked at Han Qingli and scolded coldly. Even young Master Lu is here? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe what they heard. The Lu family was the top political and business family in Yanjin. Meanwhile, Lu Lishuan was the leader of the younger generation in Yanjin, and was above the rest. Han Junfeng, Zhang Danfeng, Su Shiji and the other heirs of Yanjin were all suppressed by Lu Lishuan. He was the real deal in Beijing. This young man who was called the Dragon of the Lu family had always been elusive and rarely appeared in the circle of the younger generation. When Bai Diqing was still around, he could even talk to him as an equal. The circle he was involved in was too high-end. It was a gathering of China's top politicians, entrepreneurs, rich people, and even the top foreign financial groups. It was also said that there were some experts who could summon the wind and rain and fly into the sky and earth. Many people in the circle had never even seen Lu Lishuan before. Lu Lishuan, Liao Yinchuan, Song Shuangyan, Li Yanmei. These 4 people and the forces behind them have the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. Even a feudal official would be torn to pieces by them in a matter of seconds. Thinking of this, Xiao Lin heaved a sigh and didn't say anything. Because of their similar background, the 4 beauties of Yanjin had always been competing with each other. When they were young, they competed with their abilities, and when they grew up, they competed with their career, wealth, power, and marriage. Xiao Lin, who was still single, didn't want Han Qingli to marry better than her. Liao Yinchuan sipped his champagne and sneered. Jiang Tian, you don't even deserve to be compared with young Master Lu. Let's go. What are you going to do? Are you going to run away or fight with Liao Yinchuan? That's Liao Yinchuan. Even if you're the son-in-law of the Han family, you won't be able to leave Yanjin if you beat him up. Besides, he's speaking on behalf of Lu Lishuan. Many people looked at Jiang Tian as if they were watching a good show. They didn't know how Jiang Tian would react. Young Master Lu? Lu Lishuan? He's nothing. I'm here to settle the score with Song Shuangyan. Jiang Tian sneered. If Song Shuangyan obediently pays her debt, then this young master wouldn't be willing to stay here. How dare you ignore the young master of the Lu family? As soon as he said this, everyone's expression changed drastically. Lu Liwei was even more furious. He waved his hand and said coldly, "Get this kid out of here. If he resists, kill him." He trespassed on private property. He's in the wrong. Instantly, 7 or 8 burly men moved together, surrounding Jiang Tian in a fan-shaped formation. They all pulled out their pistols, as if Jiang Tian dared to act rashly, they would kill him on the spot. Fine. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He sneered. Lu Liwei, I've wanted to teach you a lesson for a long time. I didn't expect you to be so arrogant even when you're about to die. Calm down, young Master Lu. Liao Yinchuan probably didn't want his father and Zhang Zhonggua to be difficult to get along. After all, they were all members of the team. He reached out to stop him and said, "Young Master Jiang, don't make things difficult for your brother. As long as you leave now, this matter will end here." His words and actions were extraordinary. He was indeed one of the top young masters in Yanjin. And here? Sure, let him apologize to Li Yanmei and me and pay for all our losses. Then I'll let him go. Lu Liwei had always been the kind of person who would get more aggressive the more you stopped him. He sneered. You little bastard, you really don't know what's good for you. Kneel down and I'll spare your life. Jiang Tian shook his head in disappointment. He had already let him go last night. He didn't expect him to still be so arrogant. Fine, let's kill. The Taichu Divine Emperor had never been a merciful person. What did you say? Kneel down and apologize to me. Otherwise, I'll kill you immediately. Lu Liwei grabbed a gun from one of his men and pointed it at Jiang Tian's head. He shouted anxiously. Haha, this kid is being pointed at by a gun. Brother Wei is fierce. Shoot him. Kill him. Li Yanmei had changed into new clothes and came out. She immediately shouted excitedly when she saw this scene. Have you finally drawn your gun? I've been waiting for you for a long time. Go to hell. Jiang Tian sneered and flicked his finger. A golden finger aura shot out. Boom. 100 meters away, Lu Liwei's head exploded like a watermelon shot by a Barrett sniper rifle. Chapter 553. Red and white things, as well as skulls, splattered all over the faces and bodies of the people around them. Li Yanmei felt her face heat up as she touched a piece of skin with eyeballs hanging from it. Oh my god! She was so scared that she sat on the ground and screamed. Her whole body trembled like a sieve as she peed and defecated. Liao Yinchuan was also dumbfounded. He was dumbfounded as if he had seen an evil ghost. He froze on the spot as if an immortal had cast a spell on him. Murder! After a brief moment of deathly silence, a series of earth-shattering screams rang out. Everyone fled for their lives. These young masters and socialites had never seen such cruel and violent means. They killed people on the spot just because of a disagreement. This was an important area in the capital and the best city. The social security had always been good. They had always thought highly of themselves and were used to disregarding human lives, but they had forgotten about it. Not to mention Jiang Tian, who was a reborn god emperor. Even if he was an ordinary person, he still had the right to defend himself and fight back when someone pointed a gun at him. What? A martial artist? Song Poju was shocked at first. Then he took a step forward and went against the flow of people. He pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted angrily, "This guy is extremely dangerous. Don't show mercy. Shoot and kill him." Click, click. The scene was filled with the sound of bullets being loaded. The bodyguards of the Song family were no joke. They would definitely shoot. It seemed that Jiang Tian would be shot into a sieve in the next moment. "You're too slow." However, Jiang Tian was faster. He shook his head in disdain and waved his sleeve as if he was driving away flies. Boom, boom. A surging golden wave swept out and pushed in all directions like a raging wave hitting the shore. Boom, boom, boom. Many gunmen were thrown out like leaves in the wind. Some even collapsed and were torn apart in the air, turning into meat paste. Half a minute later, the howling wind finally stopped, and the dust settled. Many young masters and socialites crawled on the ground, holding their heads and trembling. They looked at the scene in front of them with their mouths agape. With just a wave of Jiang Tian's sleeves, everything within 50 meters of him, be it fake mountains, pavilions, or winding corridors, all crumbled in an instant. Half of the courtyard was swept clean by Jiang Tian. Starting from Jiang Tian's feet, the ground seemed to have been blasted by a bomb. Cracks spread out for dozens of meters. It was a complete mess. "Jiang Tian, who are you? Do you really want to be enemies with my Song clan?" Among the crowd, only Song Poju managed to maintain his composure on the surface, but his slightly trembling hands mercilessly exposed his current shock. "You don't have the qualifications to ask me. Make Song Shuangyan kneel and pay back what she owes me, or accept death." Jiang Tian didn't pay any attention to them. He just slapped them lightly on the head and shouted softly, "Kneel." Rumble. The sound of grinding and rolling stones rang out above the heads of the young masters and socialites. Everyone felt as if Mount Tai was pressing down on them. They couldn't help but bend their waists, bend their knees, and kneel down in submission. "I don't," Song Poju roared furiously. Internal force surged around his body and his muscles twisted like dragons, almost breaking out of his body. However, how could he withstand the overwhelming power of Jiang Tian's level 6 Qi refinement stage? His entire body was slapped to the ground. He is Jiang Tai. Song Poju suddenly thought of something. His eyes popped out and he stood up on his hands and feet, as if he wanted to run away and report. Unfortunately, he was directly hit by an invisible force because he stood up first. He sank into the ground and didn't move anymore. No one knew if he was dead or alive. Many socialites and young masters who were watching from afar were all dumbfounded, and cold sweat broke out all over their bodies. Even Mr. Shi and the other guards of the Song family gasped at the same time. The Lu family and the Song clan wanted to establish the Wuxia business alliance with Zhang Qianlei's power. Today, all the tycoons were gathered and Lu Lishuan already had the power to control Yanjin. However, this young master from Lingnan had killed Lu Liwei in front of everyone and forced the Song family to kneel down. He was going to challenge the prince of the Lu family. It's too violent, too savage. Since when did Jin City have such a fierce person? Oh God. Lu Liwei's father is a powerful official in the province, and he killed him just like that. I just said he was a country bumpkin, but it looks like he can really compete with the young master of the Lu family. Many young masters and ladies felt a chill run down their spines as they stared at Jiang Tian in fear, as if they were looking at a ghost. He is indeed the arbiter Kong Teichu. Looking at Jiang Tian, who had already sat on the stone bench and sipped a glass of wine, Han Qingli's legs had already turned to jelly. Her heart and eyes had already turned into a pool of spring water. She only felt that it was worth it if she could pretend to be a couple with Jiang Tian tonight. Jiang Taichu put down the wine cup and looked at the Songtao pavilion in the backyard. He used the demonic dragon roar and let out a thunderous roar. Song Shuangyan, return the map or get out of Yanjin. It's your choice. Inside the Songtao pavilion, some families were happy and some were sad. On the one hand, the leaders of the top families such as the Lu family, the Song family, the Liao family and the Lu family in Yanjin, as well as many business groups and rich families in the Yangtze River Delta region led by the Yi family in Zhonghai, were having a heated discussion. The Lu family was the top political and business family in Wuxia, and the Song family was ranked third. Once the Wuxia Renaissance Alliance was established, it could be said that the richest Zhonghai and the most authoritative Yanjin were connected, forming a real powerful capital group that was comparable to the top financial groups in the world. Moreover, with the power of worldly power and wealth, they could strike from below and make friends with the reclusive sections. It was possible that they could suppress the adjudicator Jiang Taichu and the 6 martial arts schools of Yanjing. But now 5 of the top 10 richest people in China were here, and Yi Wudao, the Grand Master of Jiangxia, was there to back him up. Plus, the Song family had that old monster in charge, so there was a good chance that he would succeed. Once the Wuxia Renaissance Alliance is established, and with the support of the Shu Mountain sect and other hidden sects, Jiangchen will be nothing. Yi Haochen's heart was burning with murderous intent. Ever since he was suppressed by Jiang Tian in Singapore, he had to come to Yanjin to avoid the sharp edge. Thanks to his grandfather, Yi Qida, who had a lot of connections and served as Lu Lishuan's company management consultant, he was able to work for Lu Lishuan and survive. But he had never thought that Lu Lishuan would have the ambition to suppress Kong Taichu and kill the 6 families. And it seemed that it would really work. The leaders of the Lu family and the Liao family in Yanjin, as well as many rich people in the Yangtze River Delta region, were all smiling. They supported Lu Lishuan to establish the Wuxia Renaissance Alliance. It was no exaggeration to say that it was a new era. If Lu Lishuan was the crown prince who was about to ascend the throne, they were the founders of the country, and would have great benefits in the future. On the other hand, the heads of the Xia, Long, Ge, and other clans who were at odds with the Song and Lu clans, as well as the heads of the rich and powerful clans who relied on them, hung their heads dejectedly as if they had lost their parents. I can't believe that Heavenly Master Zhang is still alive and has reached the peak stage of the Tao body. The leader of the Xia family shook his head and sighed. He smiled bitterly and said, Old Lord Lu has a great-grandson and Song Beishan has a great son-in-law. They're so young and they're so talented. They've already suppressed us. The Xia family was ranked second in Yanjin, and had the same influence as the Lu family and the Song family. The marriage between the Song family and the Lu family had already made the Xia family nervous. They also didn't expect that the Lu family had conquered the forces in Jiangxia. Besides, old monster Zhang was about to come out of seclusion. His Tao body was comparable to an immortal state warrior. Who could resist him? After the fall of the Bai family, the 6 major families of Yanjin don't have any immortal state warriors. Besides, Kong Taichu doesn't like to interfere with the mortal world, so no one can stop them. The leader of the Ge family smiled wryly and said, I'm afraid that old monster Zhang is as powerful as Kong Taichu. Although they were afraid of the Bai family's power before, they didn't interfere with each other most of the time. However, after the rise of Kong Taichu, they realized how terrifying an immortal state warrior was. He had defeated 10,000 soldiers alone and killed countless people. He had suppressed a country by himself, and made the leader of Japan bow down. Even the superpowers in the world were afraid of him. Besides, the Lu family and the Song family also had such power. Who would dare to challenge them? That would be courting death. Is Kong Taichu unwilling to come out of seclusion? Someone asked. Kong Taichu is an outsider who pursues the path of becoming a deity. The leader of the Xia family heaved a sigh and said, I've been planning the adjudicator ceremony with the 6 major families of Yanjin, but he rejected it. He doesn't want to be friends with us. Fuck him. A tycoon felt wronged as if he were a child who had been abandoned by his father. He scolded angrily. Jiang Taichu defeated the Bai family, but he doesn't care about the secular world in Yanjin. He's so irresponsible. We have no one to rely on and we're in a passive position now. Among the top 10 families in Beijing, only Han Batian isn't here. Does he have someone to rely on? Someone said unwillingly. The Han family is useless. Everyone shook their heads. Han Beishan's family was far behind the Song family and the Lu family. Not to mention that the Lin family, which was backed by the martial arts Lin family, was no match for old monster Zhang, who was worshipped by the Song family. In terms of business and political power, the Lin family was far behind. Fine. Everyone, let's surrender. We don't have the power to change the situation. The leader of the Xia family shook his head and his white hair trembled. He seemed to have aged 10 years in an instant and struggled to get up. A wise man submits to circumstances. Lu Lixuan is dominating us with the power of heaven and earth. We have no choice but to submit to him. Seeing this, everyone was filled with despair, but they all got up and walked towards Lu Lixuan. The leader of the Xia family was also a man of his word in Yanjin, but he had already surrendered. Who else could resist Lu Lixuan's power? At least you know what's good for you. Whoever dares to stop the grand plan of the Renaissance Alliance will be killed. Lu Lixuan also saw them coming from afar, and a smirk appeared on his face as he whispered coldly. At this moment, a series of loud noises came from the front yard outside the window, as if there was an earthquake. The entire Songtao pavilion became silent. Following that, a thunderous roar burst out like a cannonball, carrying with it a monstrous aura. That mighty and domineering voice resounded throughout the arena. Song Shuangyan, return the map or get out of Yanjin. It's your choice. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.